Boys and girls and babes, let's go!
You're drunk.
And Jen Jensen.
I can't even. I mean,
On your home of the Gamecocks.
I don't know. Everything's going wrong, and I don't know what to do. I don't know, but I might go back to bed.
107.5.
I'm pretty good at drinking beer.
The Game.
Final day of May the 31st, a Tuesday morning. And if you had all three of us being back on time and ready to go, well, congratulations to you. That is definitely not what I had on the bingo card for today. But here we are. Patrick Perrett is back from the vacation. We'll dig deep into that when Jen Jensen is back from the Indy 500, where, according to Twitter, it looked like she almost didn't make it to the race. It looked like a heck of a trip just leading the Jensen vacation household, just trying to get to the parking lot to do some tailgating. That seemed to be the most interesting part of the trip, maybe, Jen?
most frustrating for sure. It's kind of like the 500 snuck up on the folks in Indianapolis or something.
Okay.
You're going into a residential area, so that already inherently is some problems, but we could not figure out why we sat on 465 South for, basically almost 2 hours. Yeah, hardly moving. So that was a little frustrating. It was a little frustrating leaving. We got a little sassy with a little guy who was directing traffic, and he said, "Well, you're supposed to go this way." Well, we're not. We're going this way, so move out of the way. Those kinds of things.
So Jen watches about 3 hours of racing and decides to take the leaving into her own hands and
Absolutely.
just decide how she's going to leave because she's seen Power Car. I got into that a little bit this weekend. I watched some of that. I got into Patrick's two areas of expertise, Formula One racing. Watched the Monaco a little bit. That's actually very it's weird and interesting all at the same time. And then I went down a wild path of looking up Monaco and the sovereign state that it is. Didn't realize it was more of a French state. I don't know why I always thought it was just more of a Spanish state, but again, we're being
been French
educational here earlier.
There you go. Well, look at you learning.
French. So there's a lot of information that I learned, and only about 3.5. I think it's 3.94 miles of coastline for that country.
Monaco, yeah. Well, it's rare that Charles Leclerc, who's a Monaco native, was born and raised in Monaco, sat on the pole and did not win the race. That's rare in Monaco. It's hard to pass on those street courses.
It's very hard. Yes, that was very, very interesting. Got into that. Got into a little bit of your lacrosse yesterday. Maryland and Cornell. What a match. It was incredible.
Possibly the greatest team of all time. That's what Maryland was fighting. Maryland's been really bad on Memorial Day. They're 1-5 in championships under John Tillman. This was the best team they've ever had, maybe the best team in the history of lacrosse, one of the largest goal differentials, best team in terms of playing like a team, not just individual talent. They go 15 deep, easy, and then there's no let off. So that was a culmination of an incredible season and the exercising of demons, championship weekend demons for Maryland. It was awesome. I thought they were going to give it away late. They dominated, and then Cornell made it a 3-goal game with 3 minutes left, and it was scary, but they pulled it off. So one of the great seasons in the history of the sport.
Oh, we will get more into that, and then, well, one of the reasons I'm pretty sure Patrick Perrett is back is we will let Jen figure out tomorrow or Thursday, whatever suits her schedule best, the Miami Heat. I'm all for the shot Jimmy Butler took. I was pro three-pointer from Jimmy Butler. I love the pull-up three, but it's not enough. Butler misses. The Celtics get the rebound. They finish off the Heat 100-96. And
it is crazy that shot's been criticized so much.
I thought
they had all the momentum.
I thought it was a great shot. I thought he was open. You've got a guy who basically carries them in the game 6. Yeah. I didn't think that they were going to win game 6.
He played 45 minutes a game, at least 45 minutes a game for 7 games.
Jimmy Butler was absolutely fantastic, but the Celtics pull off the victory. So I guess either tomorrow after Tony Annan joins us at 7 a.m. or Thursday when Jen finds, which Jen may enjoy more because then she can giggle it up with Carrie Tharp in the final segment on Thursday. but there will be the painting of the fingernails, green, Celtic green, to commemorate Patrick winning the Wheel of Agony wager bet, and very, 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 very disappointed in that one. Really felt that Patrick was going to go down. Of course, I got to admit, I didn't think they were going to win Game 6, Patrick. I really didn't think they were going to win Game 6, and I did not have good feelings for Game 7. And, of course, the way it got going, I really didn't think that they were going to come back and even have a three-pointer with 30 seconds, I think 28 seconds left to take the lead.
I didn't get to watch much of it. I tried to watch at bars and things like that and get peeks where I could, or watched on my phone a little bit, but it was frustrating because every game it would be the Heat would win, and then the next game the Celtics would blow them out, and you were like, all right, well, here we go. Celtics are clicking now. The Heat would win again. Celtics would blow them out, and then it just happened 3 times. It's like, what is going on? And then when it got to Game 7 on the Heat home court, I was like, oh man, this is not good. But yeah, they just pulled it out. Jason Tatum didn't turn it on until late, but he's establishing himself as easily a top 5 player in the league right now. I actually do love the finals matchup too, like the old versus young, like maybe one more. People are saying the last run really for these Warriors, but I don't know why. I don't really see why they couldn't do it again next year, but really just kind of like wrapping up, putting a bow on the great dynasty of my generation versus Jason Tatum coming into his own and kind of taking over the league. It's kind of cool.
We will get into that later this week as we get closer to the start of the NBA Finals, Patrick, because it got brought up. Richard, who always weighs in on our text line, kind of just brought up. I think after the Dallas Golden State series, in which Golden State closed him out, that he didn't think that Steph Curry is a superstar, a guy that can necessarily carry a franchise, that he needs other players around him. And it kind of raises the question, I think, and an interesting question that we'll discuss again later on in the week before the series gets started. But what the legacy of Steph Curry adding a 4th NBA championship, having done it without Kevin Durant, having added Kevin Durant and done it, and then doing it again without Kevin Durant, all along the way doing it with Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, and that franchise really kind of coming up out of nowhere. He'll be 35 next year. I'm with you. He's probably got another year or 2 or 3 of really peak performance in him, at least another year, if not 2, I think, and then maybe he starts to slow down a little bit at 36. But you look at what this would mean for Steph Curry, who I think is the face of that franchise. Like, Klay Thompson's obviously really good.
Draymond, he was hurt this year too, and Klay didn't look like himself when he came back.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, Curry is kind of the guy. He's a 2-time most valuable player award winner. He's
one-time unanimous, the only unanimous MVP.
This would be his third. Excuse me. This would be again his 4th NBA championship. So we'll talk about that later in the week. Just where I hate always like where do you put the guy conversation, but it is interesting to, I think, for Steph Curry, because he's such a different player than, say, a LeBron or a Jordan or a Kobe, how you would kind of put him into that category of players, the modern age players.
Well, he's definitely a superstar.
Yeah.
I mean, of course he's a superstar. He's the greatest shooter of all time.
So we'll get into that. And then last night, the Eastern Conference Finals become set in the NHL, as that was awful to watch. And I say that because I like the Hurricanes. I'm kind of pulling for the Hurricanes. That's kind of neat to see them. I was kind of pulling for a Canes Lightning matchup. But what made it awful, Patrick, is that New York just ran them over. Jumped out to the big lead early. Didn't really make it fun viewing, I guess. It was the way I was kind of excited to watch the weekend come to a conclusion. But New York Rangers throttle the Carolina Hurricanes. Really, the Rangers have been the better team the entire series. Carolina just finally fell apart at home. Carolina did not win a road match all playoffs, and last night the Rangers just throttled them 6-2 to set up a showdown for the Eastern Conference Finals with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
That is one of those games that Game 7 stinks to watch. I hate watching Game 7s because you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time, and it's really intense. But then you just get steamrolled like that. It's almost better. I would rather have lost like that than lose late in the third period if I was a Carolina fan, but it just stinks. Just getting destroyed. You've been great at home the entire playoffs, and now it finally lets up, and you're just never really in it. I think it was 2-0 in the first period, and then they pushed it to 3 before the second, and then it dolched.
Then
completely came off.
It was 3-0 at the end of the second, and they did the interview, the little in between period interview with, I can't remember, they did it with one of the Hurricane players. And you could just tell. Like, you could tell he was kind of emotional, and it was like, we got to leave it all on the ice. You know, he was saying all the cliche things that you've got to say going into a third period where you're down 3 goals, and just basically, they had only come back from 3 goals down once this year, and that was on New Year's Day against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think they'd only scored more than 2 goals once in the entire series, or some ridiculous like that. It was not a good look, and you could tell emotionally. I forget which player was doing the interview there in between the second and the third period, and I mean, he was pretty emotional. It was kind of like he knew the season was over, but we got to go play
We
this.
still have to play it, yeah.
We have to play this 20 minutes, and the Rangers put in a goal within the first 3 or 4 minutes, and that made it 4-0.
That was probably, if that was the kid, that next goal was probably when everybody turned it off.
Yes.
Because that's always a tough thing to battle with as a fan. Like, crazy things can happen in hockey. You can have a 3-goal outburst and be right back in the game and keep you watching, but you don't want to just watch your team get their butts kicked for 60 minutes.
At that point, yeah.
Be miserable.
My television went off, and it was on to Nighty Night Land. So anyway, we got plenty that we're going to get into. We'll cover some topics that we did last week as it pertains to SEC spring meetings, is what they're called, down in Destin, Florida. There's some basketball recruiting news out there. Not good basketball recruiting news, mind you, but basketball recruiting news. South Carolina picked up a football commitment as well. So we got a lot to get to this morning, as we will cover a lot of different areas, and we will hear all about the vacations that were from Patrick and Jen. As they are back, we are back in full force here on a Tuesday morning, the final day of May. And we'll get you going. Got a busy week ahead of us as we head into the month of June. Talking season officially in front of us. Jen, that means Gamecock Larry should be ready to talk trash to all the Bulldogs, the Tigers, the Razorbacks, the Panthers, I believe, of Georgia State. Make sure that Sean Elliott's well aware of what he is bringing his team into in less than 100 days. So a lot to do this morning. You're listening to Patrick Perrette. It's Jen Jensen. It's Bill Gunner. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point.
With Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Now it's officially time for those road trips during the summer. And you need a reliable vehicle to get you from point A to point B, whether you're heading to the beach, whether you got something big in Florida, maybe you're getting out of the heat and heading to the mountains for the weekend. A reliable vehicle, absolutely necessary. And at Love Chevrolet, that's exactly what you're going to find. And you'll find it for the best price possible. The $1,000 low price guarantee means you can actually shop other dealerships and take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they'll top it. And with 14 acres of brand new Chevys, not only are you getting the lowest deal possible, you're also getting the best selection of Chevrolets anywhere here in the Midlands. So go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, whether it's the $1,000 low price guarantee or the 14 acres of brand new Chevys. What makes Love Chevrolet stand out, in my opinion, those are two great things. But again, it's that customer service, the way they treat you from the moment you come on the lot to the moment you leave in that brand new vehicle. Love Chevrolet has got you covered. Go visit them, find out for yourself just how great they are. They've been in business for over 60 years for a reason, and they're going to continue to stay in business because of the way they handle their customers, the way they treat you, and the deals they give you. I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
We do have a report of some debris on the highway, I-26 westbound there at mile marker 116. So
Yeah. I mentioned the Mark Kingston stuff Friday morning off of the John Whittle report, and then I think it was Kendall Rogers had it. Last full day of school. That's right.
It's the best day.
Yeah, we'll get into the Mark Kingston stuff. Yep, all entertaining. So we got a busy week. Wasn't a bad week though last week. The golf tournament was pretty good. Had Tony Ann and let's see, Boodle, Hale McGranahan, Tony Ann, and
Is he coming in tomorrow?
I think so. He's gonna do a Tony Ann wants to do a weekly Wednesday segment at 7 a.m. So I said, okay.
Nice.
Wednesday at 7 a.m.
So I can't log into the computer again. That's fantastic. Just changed the password last week because I write my password down. I know what it is. I always have it.
.621 on a Tuesday morning. Back in studio. Jen's back from vacation. Patrick's back from vacation. Craig asking on the live stream. Patrick, what all did you check out? What was it?
A lot. Started geez, it felt like a long week. So started on Saturday, got into Austin around noon. Was in Austin for a day and a half, did a bunch of sort of touristy stuff. Saturday was more of checking out the scene at Rainy Street, which is a downtown area there. A lot of like house bars was that vibe. That was really cool. And then Sunday did a long sort of walking tour of the Capitol and the UT campus. Texas is awesome. It's in University of Texas. Austin
So it's
campus.
now on the must go when Texas.
Yes, when South Carolina plays in Austin, Texas, there's a 100% chance I'll be there.
Okay.
I walked around the stadium. The stadium was everything about that campus was really, really cool. I'm
Wow.
surprised that Texas. I mean, everybody's surprised that they've been struggling for so long, but I don't know how you wouldn't want to go there as a recruit. That place was sweet. So yeah, very impressed by UT. Austin was great. Austin was a lot of fun. Really expensive city though. I probably spent more money in Austin in a day and a half than I did for the rest of the week combined. Austin was pricey. So really cool, growing really fast, really cool city. And then the next day was Shiner. Shiner was sweet. We drove through like I don't know what that area would be called, but it was dry, like cool open land, exactly what I wanted to see. Didn't see a tumbleweed, but it was close to it. A lot of cactus and things like that and ranches. That was sweet. The Shiner Brewery was very cool, and that was more of a quiet day. We got this little like cottage rental
Okay.
sort of thing and just got fried chicken and beer and just hung out instead of walking around all day. So that was a nice change of pace. San Antonio was kind of a bummer, like not what I expected it to be. Um, Went early, checked out all the missions, the old like Catholic missionary churches that they built that were really, really cool. The Riverwalk was kind of a bust. The Riverwalk stinks.
Really?
I did not like the Riverwalk. There are stretches of it that are really cool, but that main downtown area where you check in at the River Center and that first like sort of mile, there's 30 miles of it, so I'm sure it gets better, but some of the end of it is sketchy, and then the beginning of it is so touristy. It was so annoying. We went to the Alamo. The Alamo stunk. Like
Oh,
the Alamo
no.
itself was cool, but you just get hounded down there by homeless people, by people wanting to take your. They're like forcing us into a corner, take our picture, and they said go to the gift shop and get this picture at the end. We're
Oh,
not
yeah.
doing that, but okay. And people handing you things like everybody knows that that's
Nobody's
I guess
just letting you enjoy.
no one's letting you enjoy the Alamo. Yeah,
Yeah.
we like raced through because people just kept trying to talk to us. We're like, all right, we've seen 2 other missions.
Ugh.
This is just another mission that had more history there. We watched the Alamo movie that night. We're like, all right, here we go. We'll just do that. We watched the Billy Bob Thornton. We watched the Billy Bob Thornton movie that night, and we're like, all right, now I remember the Alamo. So that was terrible. And then the River Center area right there is like a Hard Rock Cafe, like Margaritaville, like all of the just worst places in every city. So the River Center was a bust. Like or the River Walk in general was mostly a bust. There's like a cool neighborhood further up called the Pearl District. That was pretty neat, but overall expected San Antonio to be better.
Okay.
But still had fun. I would go back for Fiesta, which is their like I like Mardi Gras would be the closest comparison, I think. So if I ever go back to San Antonio, it'll be for Fiesta. Other than that, probably won't go back. And then Fredericksburg is the wine country of Texas. It's big hilly. The hill country is what they call it. There's 70 vineyards there, and I don't know, a 10-mile stretch between Fredericksburg and Johnson City, which is Lyndon B. Johnson's, where I guess he's from. That was really cool. There's a main street there that was very active with a lot of small shops and things like that. So Fredericksburg, if you ever think on going on a wine trip and you don't want to go all the way out to Napa and fly to California, Fredericksburg, Texas, very cool. So did a couple wine tastings. That was fine. I'm not really a wine guy, but yeah, impressed with that. I guess if I was closer, I would go to that place more often, but very impressed. Everything exceeded expectations except for San Antonio, I would say, and everything was failing to live up to the first meal we had though at Terry Black's.
You went to the Terry Black's was the name of it.
Terry Black, and the line was over 100 people long, but they get people in and out. Like they are used to that, and we were flying through that line. It was hot. We walked a mile to get there, and it was 99 degrees.
Okay.
But oh my gosh, it was $100. That plate that I put on Twitter was $100. It was $94. It was outrageous. Yeah,
Whoa.
it was
The plate
nuts.
or you meant like the meal that y'all had or the plate, just your
that
plate?
plate. No, we split a plate. So we got that plate. I mean, it's hard in the picture. That's one sausage. That is a 1.6 pound beef rib, and the beef was something like $35 a pound. All the meat was sold by a pound. So that's a 1.6 pound beef rib. I would not go back and get the beef rib, even though it was delicious, because you're paying for that bone. And then that's a third pound of brisket. And then the sides were like $3.75 each. But that was a $94 plate. If you go on my Twitter _Patrick Brett and look at that plate of barbecue, it was maybe the best meal I've ever had, though.
Okay.
And that brisket, oh my goodness. We talked about potentially going back early and just because we were flying out of Austin. So we were talking about just going there, waiting in line, and literally just buying like a pound and a half of brisket and just eating a meal of only brisket and nothing else. Because it did ruin like all barbecue for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like there's just no shot that I will have brisket better than that. And that brisket pummels any other type of meat. It was
Yeah,
nuts.
brisket is definitely expensive, but
Yeah.
that seems like over the top expensive.
Okay.
But they have to deter people from coming. If it's more affordable, nobody's going to come.
It's true. It's true. You got to. It's definitely
everybody's gonna come, not
Definitely got to be a little worried. You got to remember not only the.
They're
the
actually
food.
wanting less people to come. Like, it's the line is absurd at all times. We drove by it a couple of times, and it's outside of the building. Like it's a long line to get in the building all the time.
803-404-6100 if you want to add your thoughts. The favorite one so far of the morning. Patrick's father weighs in. Mr. Perry says only my Patrick would go to San Antonio so he could watch the movie The Alamo.
We were tired, so we said, and no, we were there. First of all, we were trying to watch a Texas movie. We watched the movie Selena because my girlfriend loves Selena,
of course.
And I'd never like fully seen it. I'd watch it in the end of the year in Spanish class in high school a couple times and just slept there, put my head down on the desk. But we wanted to watch that, the Alamo, or Cesar Chavez, because every city has a main street called Cesar Chavez Street, and then or the Alamo. To just watch a movie in the Texas vibe. So I actually had to write it on Amazon Prime, but worth it. Good
right.
movie.
We'll continue talking about that. We'll hear about Jen's vacation, and we will get into one thing I did not mention in the opening off the top of the show there. Yes, coming out after our show on Friday was, I don't know if it's an official word. Kendall Rogers, though, of D1 Baseball, putting out that Mark Kingston will be back for another year with South Carolina. We will get into that a little bit and discuss that, as certainly that is something that needs to be brought up again. That, I guess you would say, became official. I'm not really sure how to word that in terms of Mark Kingston putting that, or excuse me, in terms of Kendall Rogers putting that out there, as the university has not really made an announcement, but several players hitting the transfer portal, but Kendall Rogers putting out over the weekend that Mark Kingston expected to be back or will be back with the University of South Carolina next year. Obviously, the NCAA tournament selection show taking place yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit. Both South Carolina schools, Clemson and South Carolina, not a part of the NCAA tournament. Coastal Carolina will represent the state. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Lots to get into this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you could weigh in this morning. It's Bill Gunner, it's Patrick Brett, it's Jen Jensen. We'll get more into vacation discussion for Charles. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
And yes, we're past Memorial Day. That means it is the start of summer, last week of school, so the kids will be around the house a lot more. Maybe you want to be entertaining, people out by the pool, playing in the yard. You got to make sure your home is in the best condition possible, and you want to get Canty Foundation specialists out there to make sure of that. 803-424-8380 is their number. You can also go find them with our offices in Columbia, Greenville, Augusta, Charlotte, and Charleston. And if you have foundation problems, that's going to be shown by maybe cracks in your exterior brick. Maybe you have cracks in your walls or above windows, door frames, garage door, doors or windows that might be sticking, or uneven or bouncy floors. These are all signs of foundation issues, and it's why you want to get Canty out there. They're also the best in the business at replacing or fixing crawl space issues. So if you've got an open crawl space and you recently experienced a storm, you might have standing water under your home. The high humidity and condensation in your crawl space creates an environment for mold, mildew, and pests, including termites, and that moisture can lead to wood rot and floor joist problems. That high humidity and condensation can create mold, and it'll have musty smells, awful odors that come from mold and mildew. They can cause health issues like runny nose, itchy eyes, coughs. 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space, so you need to get it checked out, and you need to get Canty Foundation specialists out there. 803-424-8380 is the number to call, or you can visit them on the web at cantycanfixit.com.
We do have a report of some debris on the highway I-26 west or 160. Major accidents to report at this time.
I started doing this last week. Of course, it was just me. No, I don't. The good news. I don't think we'll be talking about Mark Kingston until July 1. I think after this week, there'll be other stuff to talk about. Oh yeah, what were the other barbecue places you ate at?
Yeah, it was the two main big barbecue meals we had was.
Wait a minute, can you be heard?
Yeah. Hello.
Well, I muted this mic. There you go.
Yeah, it should be good. Smoke Shack. I think it was called Smoke Shack. Yeah, it was Terry Black's in Austin. That was the first meal we had, and then the second big barbecue meal was Smoke Shack in San Antonio. Supposed to be a good place. It was really good, and if I hadn't been at Terry Black's, I would probably have thought it was better because everything there was. I actually think everything we got there might have been as good as Terry Black's, except for the brisket. The brisket at Terry Black's was just the singular best piece of meat I've ever consumed. Their sausage was really good, but I regret ordering a sausage there because it was just less space and money that wasn't being spent on brisket. So anyone that was going to Terry Black's, I would tell them the menu is very intriguing and you want to eat everything there, but the brisket's just so good that you want as much of it as possible.
We did ribs this weekend.
How'd you make them?
We did. Well, my dad did them. He just. So I'm now. I think before the 4th of July this month will be spent really trying to decide on a smoker. The Camp Chef pellet one. The what's the other one that I read about? Artec or something that I'd never heard of that was supposed to.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's something tech.
Yeah, something I read about. Like I hadn't heard of that one until yesterday. The Pit Boss. If I just go with
Is it RecTech?
RecTech.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying to. Do I just go with the green egg? But I feel like if you're going to do the smoking, you got to do something where you get because I don't think the green egg. I didn't do as much research on that yesterday, but I don't feel like you use the pellets the same as you do if you get the RecTech or the Camp Chef pellet grill or smoker.
Greg, Mount Bonnell would have cost us like $40 to get to. It's not near any of the places we were going when we didn't have a car in Austin.
.36 on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, as we get you back up and into the week. And as Robin says on our live stream, last full day of school for most kids out there. So as you head into school, kids, try and enjoy your last full day of whichever grade you are in and do the best to.
Those are the best days of school.
It is.
Really
In
are.
high school, at least all the finals are done. You're mostly just watching movies or doing whatever. Like if you're still taking finals on the last full day of school, that stinks. But I loved the last half of the last week of school. I guess it was the whole last week of school. I don't really remember when you're finally wrapped everything up, but you're usually not doing work on the last day of school.
Well, and I never agree with the concept of doing testing like the last day or two because kids have checked out.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get your best test scores. So I feel for the teachers in a way, kind of corralling all the kids at this point. But we'd have to. The teachers would ask us, "Okay, we're gonna pack up the books and put them away." It's like, "Oh, so we're your little helpers," like
Right.
so you can get your classroom shut down. But it kept us occupied.
Whatever works. But you can't be doing work because now the kids have like their yearbooks. They're just gonna be running around having Owen sign their yearbooks.
Yep.
They're ready. They're planning their summer. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the best time.
Okay,
Everybody
are your kids done, Bill? Or are they going to be done?
today's the last full day. Tomorrow and Thursday are half days. So as kids head into school. So yeah, they're as far as I know, Ansley, my daughter, was telling me. I just had to look it up to see what exactly the name of the film was. But when I picked her up on Friday, she was like, "Dad, they made a movie about Clemson football." It was
Ugh.
the Ray McRathleby movie Safety, which is actually a very good story.
Hmm.
I've never seen it, but which turned into quite a point of discussion last night. The fact that I've never seen Top Gun either, and certainly.
Oh, I'm going to see it at 12:20
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm more in line for the Jurassic Park.
The reviews have been nuts, like off the charts good. I wasn't even planning on seeing it, but I was listening to a bunch of podcasts on the way here, and multiple people talking about it, saying as excited as you might have been, like I guarantee you it's better than you thought it was going to be. I got an 8.7 on IMDb. It's a ridiculous ratings. I have to go see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm driving half an hour to Sand Hills because it's the only IMAX theater, the only place playing in IMAX, which is annoying, but whatever.
Okay, so there's that. So yeah, so the final most for most, I'm sure there's a few out there, but final full day of school. So kids, good luck this morning, and try to enjoy your final day of whatever grade you were in. We do need to discuss this coming out after the show on Friday was the Kendall Rogers report that Mark Kingston will be back for next year, and Patrick, obviously last week, the way South Carolina, I doubt you were obviously being out. You probably did not watch the way South Carolina season ended. 2-1 loss to Florida, 10 innings, play at the plate, great play by, I think it was LaCroix was the catcher there, makes a great play to catch it, get the tag applied, but the ball pops out. Florida scores the winning run after another incredible Will Sanders performance, pitching for South Carolina that gets negated in a loss, and Evan Stone had a great play out of center field to get the ball to the plate and just didn't go South Carolina's way. It rose the question, and Tommy Moody had the stat, or anybody who looked it up, first losing season for South Carolina, first under 500 season for South Carolina in 26 years. Mark Kingston will be back, is now what it appears, and South Carolina baseball will move forward. I would assume we'll get some kind of announcement, or Ray Tanner will be on, I guess, with Jay Phillips later this week, and this will be discussed. But it will be interesting to see where this baseball program goes next year, because it's going to be year 6, the 5th full year, not counting the COVID year for Mark Kingston. And fair or unfair expectations are going to simply be what they were for Frank Martin, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Make the tournament or else. That's all that's going to be the focus of next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no excuses next year, and it's hard to get upset about something like this, like getting upset about someone not losing their job. But yeah, first losing season 26 years is wild. That's not what this program does. Mark Kingston is a good baseball coach, like all things considered. He knows the game, and it's his last chance. That's pretty much the bottom line. You can't go through something like this again. I think he knows that. I was surprised at the announcement, but it is what it is. Like, that's just where we're at. The team is injured. There's a lot of guys coming back. You're going to lose Andrew Eister. You're going to lose some contributors to this team, but Will Sanders will be back. Michael Braswell, hopefully, will have a big year too. Guys like Evan Stone turning on at the end of the season, get you excited. There's still good players on this team. So essentially, it's time to not even worry about this right now and just look forward to next year. Hopefully they'll be healthy. Get this next recruiting class in here, and it's your last chance. If the players love Mark Kingston, they'll play for him. They'll fight for his job. It's not like they just gave up at the end of the year and rolled over. They played some good games. They were playing better at the end of the year than they did at the beginning of the season. Still didn't win a series on the road all year, but they'll just have to be better in that regard, and that's just where we're at now.
4-14 on the road, as you point out. Also, the midweek record, very, very poor. And you've pointed it out, only 2 wins against in-state teams, both of those coming against Winthrop. So a lot that can be fixed there. They should get some pitchers back. Jack Mahoney is a guy that was expected to be a contributor, but obviously suffered the injury last year and wasn't able to pitch this year. Wesley Sweat, I would assume, will be back. That's another guy that you were kind of counting on out of the bullpen. Will Sanders, as you mentioned, will be back. We'll see kind of what happens. Aiden Hunter transferring over the weekend, announcing, I think on Thursday or Friday, I believe it was Friday, is when South Carolina had several players announce that they would be transferring, and Aiden Hunter announcing over the weekend that he will head to College of Charleston to play for Chad Holbrook. So we'll continue talking about that. Obviously, not that much to get into there, but at least as it pertains to reports coming out, I guess I should say, it happened quickly, which is what I thought needed to do. Let Mark Kingston, let the fan base know one way or the other what's going to happen and move forward. And South Carolina at least does seem to do that. No official, at least I have not seen an official word from them as to Mark Kingston's return, but I'm not sure if they really need to put out an official return. Kendall Rogers has put it out. It's been verified by a couple people, a couple media outlets around town. Move forward with it. And we'll head into football.
It's the same thing we said about Shane Beamer having to say something about Marcus Satterfield, and he didn't, and we just moved on, and that is what it is.
Had a great bowl game. Yep. So we'll continue talking about that. We'll get into some college football, SEC meetings over in Destin, Florida. We'll get Patrick's take on the scheduling ideas and the college football playoff as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
On the next halftime show.
Hey guys, it's Jay and Terry coming up on the Tuesday halftime show. Looking ahead to what the SEC ADs and coaches will be talking about in Destin.
Lots of things to figure out.
They better fix the schedule. I don't care about the other stuff. Fix the schedule. And tell Jimbo to shave every once in a while.
The halftime show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Noon to 3.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Final day of May, so you still got a chance for a Memorial Day sale. That's right, with Zero Res. Right now, you can give Zero Res a phone call, 803-262-4020, and you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. So if you had a little bit too much fun this past weekend, the house is looking like a bit of a mess, and quite frankly, you're not in the mood to deal with it, call Zero Res today with their patented ZR Water technology. Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, the absolute best of the best to get your home clean and healthy. And right now, you can take advantage of their Memorial Day sale. Last day to do it. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you get a hallway cleaned for free. So you can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020. You can schedule with ease online if that's the way you want to do it. ZeroResColumbia.com. Again, this is something you can actually use and need. That's right. If you've had a party weekend and the house is dirty and you're ready to have it clean, but you're not in the mood to do it yourself, call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, 107.5 The Game, you get a hallway cleaned for free. Again, 803-262-4020 or ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards and forwards. It's the right way to clean.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass.
Still just mentioning that debris in the roadway that could be slowing things down. I-26 westbound there at exit 115. I'm sorry, 116. So I-26 westbound at exit 116. Mostly sunny today, 92 for the high, 96 on Wednesday, hot and humid on Thursday. Looking for a high of 97 right now, 65 at 107.5 The Game.
I tried to watch some of the. I say I tried. I watched, but the Monte Carlo race. It's
Monaco.
Monaco. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to watch.
Certain views are cool because you don't realize it's kind of hard to tell how fast they're going. But the driver view cameras are ridiculous. The speed that they're taking these turns is nuts.
It was. Yeah, you can't tell how fast. There was certain angles they have to show that tells you how fast they're going.
Right. NASCAR gets to like 200. I think F1 gets to 230.
Rick on our live stream said, "What a weekend! Saw Top Gun, Celtics beat the Heat. Saw 3 fights on Sandy Beach. A lot of teenagers having a good time. Yep, there was that weekend. Yep, the Celtics take down the Heat. So tomorrow or Thursday, Jen's preference, it will be time to get my fingernails painted green to pay off. You seem pleased with that one. You seem more relieved it's not you that's getting the fingernails painted than you do that it's me getting the fingernails
I'm not
painted.
excited for this for you to see this from you. I'm just happy that I'm not doing it. That's actually what it is. Certain things on that list, I would be more excited to watch you do. Like, I would find it entertaining to watch you have to run the board for a show. Playing a musical instrument on the street would be funny. Karaoke would entertain me. This one, I'm just glad it wasn't me.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So Jen will get that lined up later. I think she's got special plans for that. For the green fingernails is what we will be going with, the Celtic green, as they will get going later this week against the Golden State Warriors. Kind of interesting final NBA finals. The NBA finals, though, Patrick, even going back to what was that? That was Sunday night's game, I believe. I'm all thrown off on days.
Game
But
7, yeah.
even going back to Sunday night's game, it wasn't a great game to watch. Like, it was the only reason that, I guess, watching it with some other Miami Heat fans was you were like hoping for the big comeback. But the Celtics constantly were in control of that game until really about the final 2 or 3 minutes. There was the weird Max Strus 3-pointer where he stepped on the line and it later got overturned. And Eric Spoelstra has been pretty adamant or pretty vocal about that particular play as it pertains to how the series went down. But it wasn't a great, as you mentioned it, there were a lot of blowouts. It wasn't a great series. The NHL has been a lot better to watch over the last week and a half, 2 weeks in terms of games.
Well, it's weird because the series went to 7 games.
Right.
But also it was basically 6 not that close games, and it was kind of dominant performances every game. It's just it's a weird thing to balance when you get a 7-game series, but also 7 not great games. Hockey's giving you shorter series maybe, but generally more competitive games, and that's just the nature of less scoring, I guess. And it's basically whatever team gets hot that game, whichever team shoots better, one team has a sort of a slump, and that's just kind of all she wrote. So I hope that we at least get more competitive games, because stylistically, it's 2 very different teams. Golden State's going to play small. They're going to shoot the ball. Celtics play really good defense. They've got size. So if we're just trading 2s for 3s, and that's what this turns into, is the Celtics getting a hard fought 2 and the Warriors just hitting a 3, and then the same thing, and the Warriors just blow them out because the Celtics can't shoot like they can, then maybe it won't be competitive. But on paper, I at least like the matchup.
803-404-6100. Jen was at the Indy 500. And Clark, weighing in on the live stream, says, Jen, what about Dixon speeding in the pit? Lost it all. We haven't gotten your take on the Indy 500 and what you got to see. You saw plenty of videos on your Twitter account, but what was the recap of the Indy 500?
It was good. I was disappointed. I didn't have my headphones this year, so I couldn't stay tuned in as well. And that I prefer to be able to kind of hear what's going on on the radio as far as what the officials are saying or what the different pit crews are saying and things like that. But yeah, for Dixon to speed, like, oh my gosh. And one of my sisters was with us at the race, and she said, he's been doing this long enough. He should know better. I said, dude, I mean, like, tensions are high. He's on top of things. And And I was curious because I didn't know where, because usually they have like scoring pylons. So there's certain sections that where they can be found, they're speeding. And I know they can watch their telemetry in the car. Was something off with that where it wasn't registering properly? Was it just plain, he just sped? But he made a mistake, but I mean, it was a huge one. And um, eh, I don't think anybody's going to be more angry about it than he is, because I mean, he had the car to win, really. I was really hoping Connor Daly would be able to pull out the win because he's a local guy from Noblesville, and that would have been fun. But I'm good with Erickson. A lot of talk about the Indy Star posting a picture of him kissing his girlfriend and calling him by the wrong name. They said he's Rosenquist, not Erickson. It's like, oh, genius is up there. Like, come on, guys. But
What
yeah, overall it was good. The pageantry before the race, good as always. Just awesome.
803-404-6100. I'm kind of interested to hear this. The largest sporting event you've ever attended, because I was watching a little bit and they said it was, I forget the actual number, but over
Yeah, about
300,000.
325,000
Okay.
of my closest friends.
Yeah,
Mhm.
300,000 people is how many were there. It was the largest. They talked about it a couple times at the beginning about kind of Memorial Day, and it was kind of a return to normal 2 years after really the pandemic and everything. It
Mhm.
was the largest sporting event that in this country that we've had. I don't. It might have been the world. I don't know, but definitely in this country that we've
Mhm.
had since the pandemic, and it was cool to see. But I started thinking about it, and I was like, I've been to huge football games. I think Tennessee, Knoxville is probably the biggest stadium I've ever been to
Mhm.
in terms of fans in one stadium. It doesn't feel that big when you go to Knoxville because I guess you're crammed in or the way the stadium is. 300,000 just seems insane. What's it like being at that kind of event with that many spectators? Do you notice? Is it it's got to be massively different than say going to Darlington.
Oh, yeah, and that's why going to Darlington and other places like that, it's like, "Oh, this is cute," 'cause it's not the massive crowds, the sea of humanity. When we look down, if I look to my right or to look to my left, um, we see everybody down the front straight, and we can see into turn 4, and it's just completely filled with people. And when you go down to where the concessions are, and all around the track, it's just people, people, people. The best time if you're wanting to go to concessions or the bathroom is right after the start of the race, before the first caution, because once you hit the first caution, everybody's back, down there. But the infield, that's packed with people, so there's a lot of places people can be. You figure, 2.5 miles, it covers a lot of people. But yeah, you can't escape anybody, it's just a lot of people.
Interesting. Just do
Triple Tennessee.
triple. I mean, 300. That was part of just an off-brand sports weekend. The Indy 500. I
Mhm.
watched a little bit again of
Did you see what happened with the Champions League?
Real Madrid and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Saw it. But
Well, the game started over half an hour late
Oh, is that
because
on Friday?
that was on Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, we're all
They
confused on
closed
days.
the gates and were locking Liverpool fans out, pepper spraying and tear gassing Liverpool
Oh my
fans. Like,
gosh.
the videos were wild. And UEFA was lying about why they were putting on the jumbotron that Liverpool fans are just arriving late to the game while they're outside pepper spraying them. It was nuts. It was crazy.
We will get back into some college sports, talk a little bit about that Mark Kingston situation. Lot to cover from the weekend. We're all back. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
So I wouldn't say I didn't have fun in San Antonio, but I expected that to be my fit. I'm responding to Rick saying didn't have fun. I had fun in San Antonio, but I expected that to be my favorite part of the trip. Well, I had super high expectations for it and was just somewhat bummed out. The beginning of the trip where we just drove through some of the neighborhoods and yeah, that was the best. Nightlife in San Antonio was kind of non-existent.
Yes, that flyover was amazing.
I saw the flyover for the. I was kind of listening and watching the flyover for the lacrosse, the choppers.
Yeah,
I believe.
in East Hartford.
Oh, wow. Neat. Yeah, that flyer of it, Indy, was amazing. When they came back around again, in fact, I should upload that. I got part of that.
And we're back. .701 on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. We are all back and up and at it. And as we are sending some of you young folk off to school for the final full day of the year. Hope everybody's doing well, coming off of a very nice weekend. Patrick Perrette wrapping up his vacation out in the great state of Texas. Jen wrapping it up in Indianapolis, where they both were able to get out of town. I spent my weekend here. Patrick back, and now just missing the brisket, basically, the most.
Essentially, it's hot. 10 or 11 days off from 2 Thursdays ago, and I got home at like midnight last night. It stinks going back to work.
Welcome back, big guy. Welcome back to the real world. It was a busy weekend of sports. You had last night the New York Rangers finish off the Carolina Hurricanes in the NHL Eastern Division Series. They will now move on to the Eastern Conference Final against Tampa Bay. You had the Boston Celtics on Sunday night wrap up Game 7 over the Miami Heat. So the Celtics and the Golden State Warriors will get going on Thursday this coming week, 9 o'clock. Another late. We start those late tip times for the NBA, and we'll see how late we can stay up and then be able to rediscuss on the following morning's program. So those were the two big playoff things over the weekend. As far as local news, South Carolina picking up a commitment over the weekend. Trevon Ball, a 6'4", 315-pound offensive lineman from Pace Academy in Georgia, commits to South Carolina over mainly offers from LSU, Arkansas, and North Carolina, amongst others. So the Gamecocks pick up their second public commitment of the recruiting cycle. Looks like a pretty good one there for the Gamecocks, and we'll continue to see if they pick up more here in the month of June. Baseball wise, Mark Kingston announced that he will be back, and we'll see what
Well, he
happens
didn't
there.
announce it.
Well, he didn't announce it. Yeah, or Kendall Rogers putting out a report on Twitter on Friday afternoon that Mark Kingston will be back. And there was some basketball recruiting news over the weekend as well. Jamie Shaw of Own 3 Sports reporting yesterday that Malachi Smith, the transfer, I guess you would say, as far as I know, he has not pulled his name out of the NBA draft. Now, this is one other part to it. I did not see anything that indicated he is actually withdrawn from the NBA draft. I did see a report over the weekend that he was working out for the Utah Jazz, Patrick, but Malachi Smith, the player who a lot of people was hoping that Lamont Paris would be able to pull and bring from Chattanooga, averaged just over 19 points per game this year, according to Jamie Shaw of Own 3 Sports, narrowing his group down to Texas Tech and Gonzaga, his final two, and will choose from those two whom he will play college basketball with, eliminating the Gamecocks.
Hard to blame him. I mean, because when he first put his name in the portal, we were like, all right, here we go. He's putting his name in to follow Lamont Paris to the Power 5. And then he, I guess, is smart for not just doing that right away. I guess he knew what kind of offers he was going to get, but now everybody wants him. And if you have the opportunity to go to Gonzaga over South Carolina, well, I would probably do that.
Yeah,
Texas Tech is a phenomenal program.
Selfishly, yes. Would I love to see him come to South Carolina and try and help Lamont Paris get something going in this first year? Yes. Does it make complete more sense for him to go to a team that he will definitely look? If you're coming back for your final year like this, if it's me, I'm going somewhere I'm guaranteed to be a part of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And playing bigger games, play on ESPN every game, because Gonzaga's non-conference is always stacked.
Right.
So he's going to play in huge games, and he's going to play in high-profile games, and he'll probably be the number 1 seed going into March. So if you lost him to like a Tennessee, things like that, that hurts. But when you lose him to one of they're not a blue blood because they don't have the history, but the top 5 programs in college basketball right now. Okay.
Well, South Carolina fans have become agitated losing players to like Alabama.
Yeah.
That aren't at Tennessee. At least you can make the argument with Rick Barnes and what they've started doing is pretty impressive. But if you had lost them to like an Alabama,
Alabama right now is what they're doing is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Tennessee has been a little bit ahead of them. Like Alabama, you got to remember Alabama's record this year was not much better than South Carolina. I think they were tied. Both were 9-9 in conference. Alabama got in. Alabama was not a bad team, but also they didn't light it up like Tennessee did. So I think if you lost them to them, if you lost them like an NC State, who certainly's got a lot of tradition, but North Carolina State not necessarily like lighting it on fire either in the basketball world, you'd probably be a little upset. You lose them to Gonzaga. Texas Tech has become one of the powerhouses right now. Mark Adams stepping in from Chris Beard and having another pretty good year last year down in Lubbock. So you understand what he's doing, but Malachi Smith. So now we'll wait and see what Lamont Paris does with the other scholarships he has left to try and fill out his roster as we go into the month of June. So that's just a few things that happened over the weekend. The NCAA baseball selection show was yesterday. I did catch a little bit of that. Coastal Carolina back in the NCAA tournament. That's the only team from South Carolina. Obviously, Clemson doesn't make it in. South Carolina does not make it in as well. Somebody weighing in earlier and saying, what if Clemson fires Monty Lee and hires Link Jarrett, the Notre Dame coach, and says, as they've been rumored to, at least the people that I have talked to seem to think that Monty Lee, much like Mark Kingston, is safe for one more year, that Monty Lee will be given one more opportunity to see if he can right that program. The Tigers missing postseason now, back-to-back seasons. That hadn't happened in forever, Patrick. So it is strange that we've seen Clemson and South Carolina. I say strange, but we have seen Clemson and South Carolina baseball basically become irrelevant over the last 5 or 6 years after being staples of Omaha and being part of the fabric that is going to Omaha. Those two programs have completely fallen off the map and become irrelevant across the board nationally.
I do wonder if that South Carolina fans are hoping for Monty Lee to stay, right? They have to be. Like on one hand, it'll be interesting if you're both in the market at this time next year at the same time. But also, yeah, you don't want to see, if you're upset about this the Mark Kingston news, you don't want to see the team right up the road be proactive in making a decision. I guess
going out and finding the guy maybe that you wanted. If it wasn't Link Jarrett or I just say Dan McDonald, but I don't know enough about the candidates.
Like, I think when they held on to Will Muschamp for one more year, it was a weak like class, I guess you would call a crop of head coaching candidates, wasn't it? There was no
Well,
like I think Mike Norvell was the big hire that
yeah,
year,
coming off of
right?
the 4-8 season,
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and see what the coaching changes were and who was out there.
I just remember talking about it and saying, if you fire him, who do you want? Like,
Yeah, at that time. So I don't. Again, Kingston will get another year. He's going to have some guys come back. You mentioned, you do have some talented players. Evan Stone, Michael Braswell certainly stand out when talking about guys that can certainly continue to make an
you
impact.
have an ace. Like, it's good to know that you've got a guy that on Friday night, if they choose to put him back on Friday nights, you have a star on the mound.
So, yeah, we'll continue talking about that. 803-404-6100. Richard weighs in. Has Gamecock Larry commented on Kingston coming back yet? Can't wait to hear this. Good news, Richard. We have Larry on the line right now. Jen, let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines where Gamecock Larry has waited patiently. Larry, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm doing okay. Boy, you just sealed the deal about this basketball and baseball. Malachi Smith. No, he shouldn't. I don't blame him for not coming to Carolina. They fired Martin, which was a mistake. If they were going to fire him, they should have fired him last year. Instead of keeping him for another year, they fired him this year. Instead of keeping him for this coming up year, because he was going to be, his program was on the way up. But Coach Ray Tanner, I still call him coach, but he's a good baseball coach. He puts us on the map in baseball. But his hiring and firing ain't been too good. Hired Holbrook, that was okay. Firing him, that was a mistake. Hired Muschamp, that was a mistake. Firing him, that was great. When they fired him, I don't know whether he hired Martin or not, but I think he did. He hired Martin.
No, Eric Hyman did.
That was good.
Eric Hyman did.
And he fired him. That was a mistake. He hired Kingston. That was the biggest mistake of all. Should have fired him last year. This year's not going to fire him. Well, I would guarantee you. I hate to say this, but it hurts. It hurts the old Gamecock. I guarantee you he will not finish out this coming up season, or they'll have to fire him at the end of this next baseball season. Paris and Kingston has set the Gamecock basketball and program back 3 to 5 years. And I'm hoping I'm around to see all this not play out like I'm saying it. But we got good men. Oh, Lord, I'm all fouled up now. Anyway, you iron and firing comes from the top. Coach Tanner, I love you, buddy, but you done made some mistakes. It's about time for you just to sit back and say, I'm going to retire. I'm going to sit back and retire and watch my Gamecocks go. That's all I got to say, Bill. Patrick and Jen, Gamecock Nation. Gamecock Larry's getting old, soon be 88. Oh, I just hope I at least get to be 91 so I can see our baseball and basketball team up like it's supposed to be. Go Gamecocks.
We hope you're still around there. He's already going 3 years out on us, Patrick. 91. 91 is what he sees. He's regulated himself to realizing that it's going to be 3 more years. We'll see what happens. A lot of you weighing in on this this morning. Jeff saying regarding Carolina baseball, it's bad we're not playing in the tournament, but it's just as bad we're no longer part of the conversation. Ronnie weighing in as well, saying hopefully Tanner and Kingston are attached to the hip after next year's disaster. They both need to go. So a lot of you are certainly very fired up this morning as it pertains to South Carolina baseball, and understandably so. Again, Patrick, it was very strange yesterday for a person who really has developed and watched a lot of sports over the last, or watched a lot of South Carolina baseball over the last 25 years, to watch that selection show on ESPN2, I think is what it was, ESPN2, as it led into the college lacrosse national championship, to watch it yesterday and to not even be watching it to see if South Carolina's name would be called. Like, you're watching it being like, this kind of stinks. Like, they're not even in the discussion. You're not seeing the shot of, somewhere back in Columbia, South Carolina, where they're talking about it.
It's a shame college baseball season's over.
It's over. Yeah, it's done. And
I will not watch another college baseball game for the rest of the year. Maybe the deciding games of the College World Series, but other than that, if South Carolina's not playing, I'm out.
803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program. We'll continue on and stay on those Love Chevy phone lines, and we'll get to the text line as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point.
With Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Was a busy weekend, lot of activities outside, and that means staying in the best health that I can possibly be in. And don't want any joint pain. Don't want any problems with joints, muscles, with tissue, with any kind of ligaments like that. That's why QC Kinetics is there to make sure you have the most active season of the year. You can call them today for a free consultation. 803-281-6860 is how you can get in touch with QC Kinetics. You can stop putting it off. Call today for a totally free in-office consultation. You can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, and most importantly, no downtime. So call QC Kinetics today. 803-281-6860 is how you can get in touch with them. The QC Kinetics is helping people get the fun back in their life, and they can do it all with local medical professionals. So if you've been suffering from hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, right now it'll take the fun out of living. Call QC Kinetics today for that totally free in-office consultation. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
We don't have any accidents to report at this time. That's good news on your Tuesday morning, but we do have a report of some kind of patchy dense fog on the way to Orangeburg, so be careful if you were headed there.
Good morning to Hope. Rick, I'm not forcing myself to not enjoy Top Gun. There's no interest in going to see it. I'm not a movie person, as we think have established. Now, we'll go see Jurassic Park next week. That'll be the first time that.
What about when everyone's telling you that the movie is incredible and you have to see it?
It'll come out on Netflix or Apple or whatever. It'll be out before I know it.
There is such thing as movies that need to be seen on the big screen.
I agree with that. That's why I'm going to see Jurassic Park.
The flight scenes of this one are apparently nuts.
They're what?
The flight scenes are apparently crazy.
Well, I actually was watching. They were talking about it last night. Where
these are also real stunts, not CGI dinosaurs.
They put the. I don't know what I was watching yesterday, but
you don't need to go see a giant screen to watch CGI dinosaurs.
Oh, I need to. Yeah, so loud and popcorn and I got to. But no, they had the actors on last night or whatever I was watching. I don't know what it was, but they were talking about like how one of the younger guys was like, "Oh, that was awesome! I got to go up in fighter jets like every day," and they had the cameras in there. I think it was like Tom Cruise was like, "Yeah, this is the only way you can, like, the only way we could make this movie was to actually do it real, like getting in the jets and flying."
And they used IMAX like Jurassic World did not use IMAX cameras, so you don't need to go see that on the big screen. This one used IMAX cameras, and it's gonna need to be seen in IMAX.
What was that, Jen?
No, I was just saying that's amazing about the cameras that they used and how to really make the effects.
And they were in the back of the planes while the actual fighter pilots were flying them, holding the cameras themselves, basically. So instead of like steering the plane, they're holding the camera and keeping themselves in the shot. So the actors were eating the G's of the plane while also studying the camera and also doing their lines. Like, it's pretty cool.
No, it is. I mean, just
I was blindsided by the reviews. I was going to see it in theaters, but I did not expect people to be going this nuts over it.
Somebody said it was 99% on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes.
Yeah. I thought people would like it and it would give you nice feelings from a 36-year break and it'd be nostalgic and whatnot. I didn't expect people to say it's the best movie of the year.
Think Katie
So-
Holmes is going to see it?
I wonder.
Now, she's not married to Tom Cruise anymore, correct?
Correct.
I don't keep up with the
I don't either.
did not do that.
We can. If you go see it in AMC, you'll get to see Nicole Kidman do her annoying promo before the movie.
Nicole Kidman?
Another Tom Cruise ex.
Were they married?
No, they weren't married. I don't
They
think they dated after Days of Thunder, though.
Yeah.
Days of Thunder, yeah. That was discussed last night.
You have seen Days of Thunder now?
Nah.
Good movie. Cole Trickle.
I hadn't seen Top Gun, hadn't seen Days of Thunder.
I mean, Top Gun's a must watch.
Huh?
Top Gun's so iconic.
What was the ones Lauren was going over last night? The other Risky Business but none of those are my kind of like. They're just. I'm not an '80s movie guy. Like
those are
like
massively different
Karate
movies.
Kid. I did see Karate Kid, but like
So
Gremlins. What was the ones we were talking about last night?
those
Karate
aren't
Kid.
my kind of movies, like old movies, because Risky Business has nothing in common with Top
Huh?
Gun. Risky Business and Top Gun have nothing in common, other than
No.
the period they were made.
No, we were just talking because like Gremlins.
So when you say those aren't my kind of movies, you mean movies that
but
were not made
like last night, we were talking
in the 90s or 2000s.
We were talking about like Gremlins, and then we got into
Goonies.
the heart. Huh?
The Goonies.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the Goonies. That's just not my like. I watched. I don't like.
So don't watch the old Top Gun. We'll go watch this one.
Don't you have to watch the old Top Gun?
Apparently not. Apparently they just do a great job flashing back. You could get the gist of Top Gun. Okay.
There's something with Goose's son who's not a
Goose's
fan
son
of
is Miles Teller
Maverick.
plays Goose's son. All you got to know is that Goose died in Top Gun.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of Top Gun. It's not that I haven't like ever seen the movie.
The love interest, apparently, there's a subtle line in the first movie about the new love interest because it's Jennifer Connelly because the first girl did not age well.
Oh, really?
So they replaced her. Yeah.
No, we were talking about it last night. Like I've watched. What was that? What game was that? That sounded like a new old-timey clip of the day.
I didn't hear it.
Gamecocks 23, Bulldogs 21, and Bob Fulton was calling it. Did I just
Hope
I
if we have the
apologize.
option of Bill not seeing either of them or just going to see the new one, he'll be okay. 12:20. I'll be there today. Bill would hate Eyes Wide Shut.
$7:21 on a Tuesday morning. We are all back and at it this morning. Hope you're doing well, especially if you're getting the kids to school. Or what I think for most of them, what we decided in the previous hour, for most of them, is the final full day of school. So, did y'all ever do the shaving cream, clean the desk deal? Did y'all ever have to do that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what good that actually did.
Yep.
Other than to eat up like about 45 minutes of the day for the teachers, which I can
And
totally
it
understand.
smelled good.
Smelled good? Yeah. All right. Yeah, you get the
Kids were having field day, weren't wearing deodorant, so I needed it to smell better in the classroom.
very wise. Okay. It's our best substitute teacher there, Jen Jensen, who knows how to really get through the day and make the classroom smell a little bit better. So kids heading to school, good luck. Is most of you again having your final full day of school. I think my two have the final full day and then half days tomorrow and Thursday. And then it's on into the summer. A couple of you weighing in, as Patrick has pointed out, there will be no college baseball around here during the June and July months. It'll be owned to the Fireflies and the Columbia and the Lexington Blowfish. And DJ weighing in and said the standard for Carolina baseball has taken a nosedive in the last 5 years. Sad. So we'll see kind of what happens there with South Carolina baseball. Clemson also in the same boat. No baseball for Clemson. Patrick, Monty Lee on the hot seat. Wanting to weigh in on that is Charlie. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Charlie, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. And do I need to take my phone off the speaker? Can y'all hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you actually. Doing good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, and the same thing for Clemson. We're taking a nosedive now, and what's concerning is that Radakovich offered Monty last year the option to get rid of some assistants and do things differently, and Monty said no. So, and the rumors going around that Graham Neff was going to offer him the same thing. I just don't. I mean, at this point, you don't make the postseason back-to-back years. So if we make a regional next year with new assistants, that's now considered improvement. Even if we make a regional and go 2 and barbecue, that's considered an improvement. And so what are we doing? I mean, we're going to hang on to Monty Lee for another year of losing in a regional whenever honestly, that's why we wanted to, a lot of Clemson fans are ready for him to be gone anyways. And, this season, I don't understand why it seems like mid-season for a lot of Clemson fans, it's like the expectation changed from preseason. Preseason, there were so many fans that said it's regional or bust. Well, now, excuse me, not make a regional, win a regional or bust. Let me clarify that. So at some point during the season, after we started 14-0, but then we were so bad there in the middle of the season, it's like the expectation went from being, well, forget winning a regional, we just need to make a regional. Well, no. I mean, even if we would have made a regional, I still would want Monty gone after this year. But, I mean, not making one even makes it more obvious. But the thing is, I just don't know how you can commit to new assistant coaches, because by doing that, you're still committing to Monty Lee. And it's not like our pitching wasn't good enough from 2016 to 2019 to do more. Okay. I mean, every year in the winners bracket regional games, we had to watch our offense just lay an absolute egg against Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt twice, Ole Miss, getting eliminated by the Jacksonville State Gamecocks that Ole Miss year. We got beat like 9-2. I mean, the results haven't been there on the offensive end, and we've seen what Monty can do to first-round picks with Steph Curry and Logan Davidson. Logan Davidson never hit 300 in college. Still got drafted as high as he did because scouts know what he's capable of. Steph Beard didn't hit 300 his second year, hit 301 his junior year. We know how good he really is. He's just not getting it done. He's not developing guys good enough. This was actually the first year that you could point to about 4 or 5 guys in the lineup that improved from the previous season. This was the most improvement we've seen from a starting 9 as far as, how some of the guys did last year to how they did this year. But I compared this baseball offense this year to Taj Boyd's offenses at Clemson in football. This team would just absolutely dominate bad pitching, but when we faced elite pitchers, they would be silent. And so I feel like that's where a lot of we hit 280 as a team. That's pretty decent, but we really picked on the bad pitchers. But against good pitchers, we just nowhere to be found. So while we hit better for average this year, we still were not getting the job done at an elite level. Not even a really good level, to be honest, just a mediocre level. And I just don't know how you can commit to Monty Lee any further, especially when you got David Miller out there. Look, Link Jarrett's good and everything, but David Miller, Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year a couple seasons ago at LaSalle. He just got hired by Penn State. It was his first year. They went 26-29. Yeah, that doesn't sound sexy. Well, that's the best record they've had since 2016. That team won 18 games last season, and they went 26-29 in his first season. That guy is a baseball coach. All right.
We'll keep him.
There's also other guys out there, but
and
the same thing goes for South Carolina. Y'all need to get rid of Kingston too, no doubt about it. But hey, guys, I appreciate y'all taking my call. I'm trying not to talk as fast as Jimbo Fisher when I get worked up, but y'all have a good morning, guys.
Thank you for the phone call. It's Patrick, obviously a lot of passion, a lot of emotion in that. Clemson and South Carolina baseball has been obviously Clemson football has been at the top of the game over the last decade and has maybe supplanted Clemson baseball a little bit as the preeminent program. Clemson baseball, a lot like South Carolina baseball, the history and the tradition has been there for Clemson baseball. And so you hear that. But it's funny what he was saying. I feel like we could get the same phone call from a South Carolina fan on South Carolina baseball, and everything he said would be what a South Carolina fan would say, just change the names around.
Yeah, and one of the early points he made is interesting when you just look forward to next year and say, well, what do we need to see next year? South Carolina had a losing record this year. So if they had a winning record and then missed the tournament, is like, okay, well, you improved. Or if you make a regional and just get boat raced and you're bounced immediately, okay, well, you made the postseason. Are we happy with that? Because going into this year, South Carolina fans were saying you're hosting a regional at the minimum. Super regional appearance is probably like that is the standard. Omaha should be the standard, but you're not going to fire a guy for not making it to Omaha necessarily. But now, is that what we're going to say next year? Well, we made the postseason.
Yeah,
So are we happy with that? I don't know.
Day answers. He says simply making the NCAA tournament won't be good enough for Kingston. He'll have to do something in it. And I think there will be those people. We'll see what.
But it's hard to say. Well, you didn't fire the guy last year when he had a losing record, and now you're going to fire him for
just getting to the. Yeah, I mean, the question will be is how content are you if you get to the post? You got to get to the postseason. That's going to be the bare minimum expectation is that Mark Kingston will have to be in the postseason next year. I don't know what South Carolina would have done with Frank Martin had they made the NIT, because there's a feeling that was not going to be good enough. That just getting to the NIT was not good enough, and obviously South Carolina, I don't even know if they were a borderline NIT team when it was all said and done with their RPI and how everything shook out. We'll continue talking about this. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
30 years ago, the South Carolina Gamecocks entered the SEC.
The exclamation point in the swamp. Carolina is going to Atlanta.
To celebrate, 107.5 The Game is putting together the top 30 Gamecock football players from the last 30 years.
Cooper running left side, now flipping it back to Ellington, throwing for Connor, into the end zone, caught. Touchdown, Carolina.
And you can help. Just go to 1075thegame.com or download our app and click on the voting form and fill out your top 30. Yep, it's that simple. Then starting in June, we'll count down the top 30.
Cody just burst through, ripped the helmet off the tailback, and took it away.
The top 30 Gamecocks from the SEC era.
The 20 got one man to beat, 10-5. Touchdown, Carolina.
From your home of the Gamecocks, 1075 The Game.
1075 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
We have a report of an injury accident that is I-20 westbound before Humphreys Road. That's exit 101. So again, injury accident, I-20 westbound before exit 101. Also an accident downtown.
Yeah, Hope, I agree with you. But if Bill's, he's just going to spitefully watch it. If we do make him watch Top Gun, he's going to spitefully watch it and not enjoy it. I think he's mostly a lost cause as far as Top Gun goes. Yeah. Or as all movies go. I think it's a bit now. He's Mr. Anti-Movie. The Dixon guy?
Jen would know better what exactly happened, but it sounds like he was speeding in pit row and got a speeding penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the penalty?
Pass through lap. So
So everybody got to pass him?
now he has to go through the pits and go in the 60-mile-an-hour limit all the way through. So it takes forever. And yeah. So literally it took him from in the front to 26th.
Yikes.
It's brutal.
How fast was it going?
I didn't see or I didn't hear. It could have been 60.1 and he'd have
And that
gotten a
would
penalty.
happen? Yikes. 60 is still pretty fast.
Yeah, I
60's
mean,
fast. It's not what they do, but 60's fast.
It's not driving 20 in a neighborhood.
no, but when you're
no.
literally coming off a turn 4 and you're doing probably 214 to lock them up to get to
drop it down,
60,
yeah.
that's pretty brutal.
I like the idea that they have a speedometer on their race car.
Oh, their race
so they
car?
know when they're going under 60.
Yeah, and like I
Versus
said,
just
I don't know
drive
if
as fast as you can.
Yep.
'Cause
Yeah.
What's the point of it, really? You don't. Do you care how fast you're going? You're just going to drive as fast as you can, right?
Yeah, no. That makes it part of the challenge. But you figure when they're all pitting at the same time, you've got to have a slower speed,
Yeah.
because a lot of people there that could just get mowed over. There was
Every
one guy.
time, if it's F1, if it's NASCAR, when they come into pit and they slam the brakes right into that spot, I always think they're going to wipe out one of the tire guys, the jack guy at the front.
Well, there was a tire changer during the Coca-Cola 600 who his foot got run over, and he still managed to get up, get around, and get the tire change on the other side. I never heard how
So the
he
driver
is, like
just
if it
buys
got
him
hurt.
dinner
But
that night and says sorry.
My bad, man. Milkshake. Final day of May, and we're all back together. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen here. It's the early game on 107.5. The game we've been talking a little bit about Mark Kingston this morning as he will return to coach at South Carolina for another year. And I think Charlie, who called in the previous phone call there, was talking more about Clemson. But Charlie brought up a good question as it pertains to Monty Lee and what the expectation becomes for next year. Obviously, it's to get to the NCAA tournament, but it's to do more than just get there. I don't know, Patrick, if Mark Kingston doesn't host an NCAA tournament next year, is that good enough? You're right. Can you just fire somebody who gets to the NCAA tournament? It's an interesting situation South Carolina will step into, and Clemson for that matter as well. It's been a while since we've seen the Gamecocks and the Tigers in this exact situation, where both fan bases seem pretty unhappy right now with the results they're getting from the current coaches that they have.
It's just a little more pronounced with South Carolina because now, like, if you fired Mark Kingston and hired a new coach and you got bounced immediately, but you made a regional, you would say, okay, well, this coach in year one took a sub 500 team to the postseason. Good, that's a good year one. But you can't hold a 60-year coach to the same standard. So it's kind of you've put yourself in an interesting position, and you've put Mark Kingston in an interesting position where now, I mean, I don't think he knows clearly what his drop dead expectation is. Like, if you can't necessarily just say, because there's so much
If
nuance.
Frank Martin is any indication, and I don't know what exactly was said behind the scenes, but if you go back to that article written in the state newspaper about the firing of Frank Martin and how that went down, Frank Martin thought he'd done enough to get another year. Now, was it made clear to him? Was it like written down on a sheet of paper and stuck to his desk, like make the NCAA tournament or pack your bags?
Or bust.
Yeah. I mean, was that's what I think most people thought or felt. That's what the fan base was thinking. But was that the narrative he got from his bosses in the administration department and the athletic director? Did they tell him, look, you got to get to the postseason? And would have the NIT saved him? Would have the NIT got him anywhere? Mark Kingston doesn't have an NIT from which to work with. He's got one tournament that he can get into. And then the question becomes, is that good enough to just get there? Do you need to host? Do you need to be a two? What will the expectation be for him next year? How much pressure will he and those players be under, knowing that if you don't perform next year, if you don't get to the postseason, and it's not like it's going to be easier next year. If you don't get to the postseason, coach is out. He's gone.
Yeah, it's kind of the same discussion and kind of not, because South Carolina baseball does start at a higher level. Like, it is harder for South Carolina basketball to make the NCAA tournament just because historically they haven't been
Right.
as successful of a program. But it's also pretty easy to just look at that and say, okay, well, you either are one of 68 or you're gone. Like, it's a pretty black or white thing in college basketball. And baseball, I guess it is a little different because you're expecting more than just making the
Right.
postseason. Like, you want to be more than just involved in the postseason. Like, you'll be playing against teams that you think you're better than, or have
If a
more
coach
history
around here,
than.
here's the way to describe it. If a coach around here in basketball makes 4 consecutive NCAA tournaments, we'll build a statue of him.
Correct. Yeah.
You can be eliminated in the first round, but if you make 4 consecutive NCAA tournaments, you get a statue.
Yeah.
In baseball, if you make 4 consecutive NCAA tournaments and you don't make it out of your regional, there will be discussion about firing you.
Correct. Yeah. And that's just, it's an awkward position. Clemson, I feel like, is almost in a. No, South Carolina's in a more awkward position. It's just because Clemson was actually like, they swept South Carolina. They were 35-23 or something like that is what I just looked up. I really didn't follow them, but that's what I saw. So they had like a winning record. It just they missed the tournament. But
Right.
South Carolina, like, straight up losing season to make the postseason it would seem to be a massive jump. But it's still, is it going to be enough? I don't know.
We will continue to talk about it as we kind of move forward. Obviously, I don't know how much we'll talk about it more this summer. Anonymous texter weighs in this morning and says, is it official Kingston is staying? Has South Carolina made an announcement, or are we just speculating off of sources? Yeah, Kendall Rogers putting it out there. I don't know if South Carolina has to make an official announcement on this. Like, you have
to make an official announcement when you fire a coach.
Yeah.
But just, do you have to have a press conference to say this person will continue to do their job? Not really.
I'm thinking back. If you really go back, and at the end of 2019, Patrick, at the end of 2019, was there a press conference to let everybody know Will Muschamp would be back after a 4-8 season?
I didn't think so.
Because there wasn't. There was a lot of people calling for his head. At the end of 2020, the end of the 2020 basketball season, the Frank Martin situation didn't play out very well at all, obviously, with how they initially looked like they were going to fire him after the COVID year. Then he ends up coming back. And I don't think, to my knowledge, that there was any kind of statement that was put out as it pertained. I think it was just kind of all of a sudden, okay, Frank Martin's back. I don't think that there will be some kind of official email that I'll get here from the university or a press conference or any of that. My guess is that they just move forward. Maybe Ray Tanner comes on the program with Jay Phillips and discusses the situation and says, look, we expect more and we hold ourselves to a higher standard. But that's kind of, to me, where this thing will end up being as it goes down for South Carolina baseball. I believe there'll probably be an interview in the State is another place that you could probably end up finding that, where he'll end up talking about it. But that's my guess as to how this all ends up playing out, is that, yeah, Mark Kingston's just back, and that's where we're going, and we'll see what happens next year as South Carolina moves forward with the baseball program. And again, it's hard as we sit here now. Today's Tuesday. They've played their final game a week ago tonight. What'll end up being interesting is what the roster looks like. You saw 5 guys transfer over the weekend. How the roster shakes out, who he gets through the Major League Baseball draft, or what transfers he gets through the transfer portal to build that roster for next year.
That's going to be huge. I mean, it's a difficult selling point right now to say come to South Carolina. So I guess we'll see what kind of recruiter he is, and we know what he can do out of high school, and it's a different game, the transfer portal. But I don't know ultimately what the transfer portal's impact will be. We saw him bring in several transfers this year, Madden and Belk and Noah Hall, and maybe he can do that again and kind of reload this team, because you can't just necessarily, you really just can't run it back with the same roster and just say, well, everybody's going to be healthy and we'll be good to go. Like, you do need to add some talent to this roster one way or the other. So we'll see what he can do. It's a difficult pitch, but that's why I get paid.
803-404-6100. We'll get into some SEC meetings taking place down in Destin, Florida, and we'll talk about some scheduling with Patrick. Got into that a good bit last week, but now the coaches, the administrators, everybody heads down to Destin, Florida, and I'm thinking we're going to get some news this week, maybe later in the week, on what the SEC is starting to think about as it pertains to adding Texas and Oklahoma and scheduling. We'll talk a little bit about that and get back into some baseball as well, and plenty more. Another breakdown of the lacrosse. Maryland, the The best team ever in lacrosse?
They're up there.
They're up there.
1990 Syracuse,
Well,
Maryland.
oh,
I don't
there
know.
you go. We'll have Patrick Pratt break it down. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
And last day of May, coming off Memorial Day weekend, summer is about to be in full swing. Last full day of school for the kids today. Want to do some entertaining this summer, you want to have people out playing in the yard, some barbecues, things like that. You want to make sure your house is in full working order. So you want to call Canty Foundation Specialist, 803-424-8380. You can find them in Columbia, Greenville, Augusta, Charlotte, or Charleston. They offer quality products, proven services, and professional experience to permanently repair any foundation or crawl space problem that you might have. They have anything you need, cracks in your exterior brick, if you have cracks in your walls or above your windows or door frames, doors or windows that stick, these can all be signs of foundation problems, and that's why you want to call Canty, 803-424-8380. As far as the crawl space, if you have an open crawl space and you recently experienced a storm, you might have standing water under your home, and that can create an environment for mold and mildew. That can lead to wood rot, floor joist problems, and also those musty smells or awful odors from the mold and mildew can cause health issues like runny nose, itchy eyes, or coughs. 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. So you need to make sure it's taken care of. If you're going to have people out entertaining this summer, you need to make sure that's all clean. So 803-424-8380 is their number. They can also do concrete leveling, concrete repair, basement waterproofing, commercial services, anything involving the foundation of your home. Canty Foundation Specialist will take care of. So again, give them a call or find them on the web. 803-424-8380 is the number to call, and you can find them online at cantycanfixit.com. Did you see all the stuff with Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham over the weekend? What? The stuff with Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham?
No, I didn't. I saw that Jock Peterson was in the news, but I wasn't sure what it was.
It was a pretty hilarious story. Tommy Pham got suspended for 3 games, and the first I heard was that Tommy Pham hit Jock Peterson pregame, slapped him, and then there was a press conference or a post-game locker room interview where Jock Peterson he's very I don't he's funny, but like never changes tone or anything. Like he's extremely monotone and deadpan, but just talked for like 3 minutes about how in the fantasy football league last year he's put someone on the IR to basically stash them, and people thought that was cheating in fantasy football, and there was a group message and this and that, and that was the first thing we saw. And then the video came out of Tommy Pham slapping him. And slapped him hard. Like I thought it was a joke. Oh, we're about to come back. But then there was another one where he provided receipts and showed the meme that got Tommy Pham over the top. Basically, Tommy Pham can't take a joke and stinks. Watch the press conference videos, though. They're very funny.
$7:48 on a Tuesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, May the 31st. Next hour, we'll get into some college football discussion as it pertains to the SEC, what they'll do with their scheduling model. Talked a good bit about that. Also, want to remind you, you can go to 1075thegame.com right now. Vote. We're still doing our top 30 players for South Carolina of the SEC era. You can pick out 30 players and vote for them. Go to 1075thegame.com, and there's a little tab at the top where you can click and join the link and go in there and pick out 30 players. If you want to pick all the wide receivers, if you just believe that Zola Davis, Troy Williamson, Sidney Rice, Kenny McKinley, Alshon Jeffrey, Pharaoh Cooper, Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards, they should all be on the list. You can put them all on the list. You don't have to just pick 3 wide receivers, a quarterback. Whoever you just put him on the list. Just whoever you think the top 30 players are of the SEC era for South Carolina. You go to 1075thegame.com and do that. I'd forgotten about this because I didn't really pay attention. I saw the story and I meant to come back to it over the weekend. But Patrick, off air, you were bringing it up. Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham apparently having a disagreement. Fantasy football is not something I really get into. It just for me, it's too much time. People who do fantasy baseball and fantasy basketball, I'm slightly amazed by, especially fantasy baseball, the knowledge and the kind of the foresight you have to have your roster laid out for the entire week. I mean, I know people who like on Sunday just make the kids go to bed at like 6 p.m., basically tell the wife goodbye. They go into their basement and they just start working on their weekly fantasy baseball lineup. Fantasy football is not much different. A lot of you invest a lot of time. Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham, Patrick, had a little disagreement during the 2020 NFL fantasy football season.
Yeah, this is like way back, but it was the Jock Peterson press conferences. You can just type Jock Peterson into Twitter or just Google it and watch his press conference. They're very funny. And it looks like a TMZ cell phone footage of the Tommy Pham slap, but he did slap him in the back of the head during pregame batting practice for the Reds when they were playing the Giants over the weekend. But a wild story. Just apparently Jock Peterson put someone on his IR when they were just out for the week, and some guys thought that was illegally stashing a player and was not fair game. And Jock Peterson just went on sort of a 3-minute borderline whisper, monotone diatribe about why he thinks that was actually an okay move and why someone did the exact same thing. And then there was a follow-up press conference once everyone got wind of this story, and Jock Peterson had his cell phone and was going through the group message showing the meme or the GIF, I guess it was a GIF that got Tommy Pham mad. And I'll pull it up on the live stream here if you want to join us on YouTube or Facebook Live or Twitter. It's just 3 guys with kettlebells throwing the kettlebells up into the air. One of them gets crushed by the kettlebell as it starts falling. And the 3 teams are the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres.
All right, yeah.
And Tommy Pham was on the Padres last year, so it started as a fantasy football feud. Jock Peterson threw a GIF in about the Padres being really talented and then collapsing. And Tommy Pham has held on to this for almost a year now, or over a year. I don't even know, but just a really ridiculous story starting with fantasy football. And Jock Peterson was like, yeah, I told him that it was a joke, and some people just take jokes differently. So Tommy Pham just clearly a guy that can't take a joke.
Have you seen your initial thought of is you walking up and slapping your little brother in the back of the head? Just having a little force behind it, but at the same time playfully slapping somebody. Tommy Pham essentially threw a punch into the back of Jock Peterson's head. For this to be over fantasy football, it makes me wonder, we might need to start regulating fantasy football in this country a little bit more at this point when it's getting this fired up about one dude. Now, granted, again, there's more to the story than just fantasy football. There's as you
There's a
said,
GIF that we're playing on the live stream right now. I mean, yeah, I guess it's just really bizarre. Like Tommy Pham's out of control for that.
803-404-6100. How you can weigh in on that if you haven't seen it. Yeah, the video of Tommy Pham slapping, just knocking the mess out of Jock Peterson in the outfield.
I want to know what the conversation was leading up to that.
I think it was like, I don't know. That's a good question too, but that's
intense.
It's fantasy football can get the best of people sometimes.
I thought it was a joke at first,
and
'cause
people talking trash in the group text message of a fantasy football can get a little intense at times too, Patrick.
I really thought all of it was a joke though, because Jock Peterson has his beach blonde hair, his little mustache. He looks like a big kid with a mustache, and the way he talks, everything sounds like it's a joke. And then you watch the hit and you're like, no, he actually
slapped him
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to hurt him, but crazy.
It's not a playful don't do that again. It's a I'm making a point to let you know that what you did was inappropriate.
Yeah, it's May 31st. Preseason or training camp will start soon for the NFL. Some people are already doing their best ball early season drafts, drafting college players in dynasty leagues. Tommy Pham will not be involved in any fantasy football leagues this year, I don't think. He's just not cut out for it.
Yeah,
he's not cut out for it.
Can't take the pressure. Can't take the pressure.
Everybody has a Jock Peterson in their league, or has someone that pushes the envelope, trying to screw people over on trades, picking people up and whatever, blurring the lines of what's cheating in fantasy football. But that's more forgivable than going over the top like Tommy Pham did. He's kicked out of every league.
You can Google that Jock Peterson fantasy football, and you can get a good view of what happened there. 803-404-6100. A couple of things from the weekend. Again, as it pertains to South Carolina sports, South Carolina picks up a football commitment over the weekend. Travon Ball, a 6'4", 315-pound interior offensive lineman is what we should say, out of Pace Academy in Atlanta, Georgia, picks South Carolina over offers from LSU, North Carolina, and Arkansas, amongst others. Again, he is a rising senior, so he'll be part of this particular recruiting class. 24/7 Sports has him with a grade of 88, which is a high 3-star, but he picks the Gamecocks. Basketball recruiting news, not as good for South Carolina. Travis weighing in on our live stream and asking what was the bad recruiting news. Malachi Smith, the talented guard transfer from Chattanooga, who's got his name in the NBA draft, according to Jamie Shaw of Own 3 Sports, Malachi Smith has narrowed down his college decision to Gonzaga and Texas Tech. Smith was a guy that a lot of people thought maybe Patrick would follow Lamont Paris here to South Carolina, would have instantly helped South Carolina and given them a dynamic score on the wing, but it looks like Malachi Smith, and it's not a bad decision. Do you want to come here and be the number one guy who defenses are going to target each and every night and maybe showcase some of your flaws, or do you want to go somewhere where you've got a lot more talent around you and you're guaranteed to be in the NCAA tournament? I totally understand what Malachi Smith's doing.
Yeah, Gonzaga versus South Carolina is not a difficult decision right now, and as soon as he puts,
neither is Texas Tech. Those are two top 10 teams in the country.
Yeah, exactly, and early on, you felt like South Carolina had the momentum just as soon as he put his name in. But the longer time went on and the more offers he picked up and the more visits and the more he thought about it, it was pretty clear that South Carolina was not going to be the best choice for him.
So not good news for South Carolina on the basketball recruiting front. We'll see what Lamont Paris is able to do with those other scholarships that he's still got available to try and fill out his roster. We'll get into some college football talk in the next hour. Get Patrick's take on the scheduling format. He had done something similar that's being discussed already, and we'll continue to talk about that. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, and Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Promo.
Final hour of the Tuesday morning episode. As we get back, we get going. Final day of May, and then we really turn the calendar. It is unofficially summer, currently, unofficially. So we are off and running. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program if you choose to do so. If you want to weigh in, we've talked a lot about Mark Kingston, and certainly the Kendall Rogers report coming out on Friday afternoon that Mark Kingston will be back for South Carolina baseball in 2023, and that kind of led us to a little bit of discussion as to what the expectation will be as you sit here without really knowing the roster. Again, I'm sure a lot will change. Several transfers over the weekend as the Gamecocks. I think the biggest one probably was Aiden Hunter, who I thought did some really good things throughout the season, and he will transfer to College of Charleston next year. But South Carolina losing a couple players to the transfer portal. We've talked a lot about that. And again, the expectation for South Carolina, not just whether it's making the NCAA tournament or not just making the NCAA tournament, but hosting a regional, winning a few games, getting to a super regional. I'm sure we'll continue to discuss that. And really, Patrick, let's be honest, we'll get more into it when we know everything in about 8 months from now in January, when it's cold and baseball season's really getting going again, and we're counting down the days to opening day. But as it stands now you wait to see what the roster will look like and what players, what the pitching rotation could be, things of that nature that Mark Kingston can control here in the offseason.
Yeah, I don't think that this conversation is going to linger too far into summer. It just is what it is at this point. There's nothing else to discuss other than, did you like the decision or not? Okay, if you didn't like the decision, well, all right, now set the expectation for next year. And I think the expectation is clearly postseason, but is that enough? Is that where we're at? And that's going to be more of a discussion for next season. Not really. It's not going to matter this summer. And once football starts and the spring meetings are happening right now, people are going to say, okay, well, tough baseball season, but this is really what we've all been waiting for anyway. So a good football season will put all of that in the rearview mirror, and we won't care.
Yeah, and so you're right. And as I said there at the end of the last segment, one of the things we'll get into this hour is some college football discussion, because now the countdown really I think we were about 7 weeks away from the SEC Media Day, when talking season will really hit its peak moment there, and we expect to be over there. That's July, I believe, 11th through the 15th over in Atlanta. They'll do it at the College Football Hall of Fame this year. And Patrick, one of the things at that point that I think we should have a good feel of is the scheduling format for when Texas and Oklahoma enter the SEC. Something I'm slightly surprised with that I didn't expect is I thought Texas and Oklahoma would be in probably not this coming season, but in 2023. I thought that that's kind of the time frame. Barring a major change, they will not. I don't anticipate them being in the SEC until 2025 now at the earliest, and who knows how things could play out between now and then. But Patrick, one of the concepts they're talking about is the concept that you kind of came up with: 9-game conference schedule, 3 permanent opponents, 6 rotating. So basically, you would see all other teams, all 15 teams in the SEC over a 2-year period.
Right. And so you would go play in every stadium
Within every 2 years.
Every 2 years. Yeah. See, I would
No, excuse me,
every 4 years.
Yeah, every
'cause
4
you'd
years.
play them at home,
Right.
and then 2 years later. Yeah. I love that. I guess we would see how South Carolina's fans would enjoy the permanent opponents. I don't think they would. I think it'd be almost a lock that Missouri would be one of them, which kind of stinks, but I would like to think that they would keep that Georgia rivalry alive. And I like the model. I mean, I want to play as many games as possible. And as far as what would that mean for championships, that would be interesting. That's a second part to it. Is it just the best 2 winning percentages? Is that what we do, or
Probably so.
keep an East and West
No, I
format
don't
to
think
some extent, even though it's not actually played that way? I think you just have to do the best 2 teams, right?
I think you take the best 2 teams. I'm with you. The permanents would be very interesting in what they do with Missouri. Do you try and realign some
Big 12
some
stuff.
Big 12 matchups by giving Missouri, say, an Oklahoma, an Arkansas, or I guess they've tried to make that Missouri Arkansas. What is it? I think it's the Friday Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah.
They've tried to really make that a big deal.
But
So
there's some that have to be played. Like, you have to still play the Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl. You have to play the Red River game. Like, those have to be permanent opponents.
right.
You have to play Auburn, Georgia. They're never going to give up Alabama, Tennessee, I don't think.
I don't think so, and obviously the cocktail party there in
Yeah.
Jacksonville with Florida. If that's Georgia's case, Georgia's
pretty much locked in with if they want to keep South Carolina, it's South Carolina, Auburn.
I don't know if I don't know what Georgia's interest is. If you ask Georgia fans, because this is the other one, if you ask Georgia fans, you said, would you rather keep Tennessee, which is an old SEC rivalry, or would you rather keep South Carolina? They may say, well, we've got that tradition with Tennessee. We'd rather keep them around. And then you look at Tennessee and go, well, Tennessee, I guess Tennessee would want to keep Vanderbilt, in-state rivalry. Tennessee, we'd like to keep Vanderbilt. We'd like to keep Alabama. Tennessee probably looks at Georgia and goes, no, we don't want a part of that. Is there anybody else? Can we get Kentucky? Like, is there anybody else out there? It's interesting to see the pool. Alabama's going to have pool to some extent. Georgia's going to have pool, and they're going to be able to kind of pick and choose what they want. I feel like Texas A&M and Texas are going to also have, like, we'll see what the SEC allows them to kind of dictate. I'm interested to see if the SEC basically looks at Texas and Texas A&M and be like, look, you're playing each other. It's good for our conference. You two should have been playing each other. Whatever differences you've already got, put them aside. You two are playing each other.
I do think there will be some bitterness or fans where you will lose a rivalry that you've been playing every year and it will stink. But then at the same time, the good part of this is, okay, so if Georgia and Auburn aren't permanent opponents and we lose the oldest rivalry in the South, they're still going to play every other year. Like, it's not like you're waiting 10 years between playing these games. You're still going to play every other year, and you're going to get the rivalry. It's just sometimes there will be years off, and that's going to hurt some people. But as far as schedule, like the Red River game, they get to still pick when the game's played, right? Well, if Alabama and Auburn are permanent opponents, they're still going to play that the last game of the year, right?
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
And the Texas game will always be that will continue. Texas Oklahoma will continue to be Texas State Fair Week. Right?
I don't
There's
see
no way that they're losing that.
Yeah, I don't see the SEC changing certain aspects of the scheduling. The cocktail party is always Halloween weekend, essentially. I believe it used to always be the same weekend as South Carolina, Tennessee, which was right there around Halloween weekend. And so we'll see how that works out. But I think that's going to be interesting to monitor over there down in Destin, because it would really surprise me, Patrick. They might not make an official announcement. You might not say, okay, we're definitely going 3 permanent, 3, 6 rotating. But I feel like when we get to Friday of this week, you're going to have a pretty good feel of, all right, we're going to ratify this in the next 3 to 4 months and start working on schedules and formats. Because if I'm the SEC, it's not the worst idea to just go ahead and maybe implement it.
Yeah.
In years to come, before Texas and Oklahoma come, and just go, all right, we already got it laid out for when they come here. But for everybody to get used to the new format, let's go ahead and start working. Let's go ahead and put it in play, say 2 years from now.
I love the idea that Greg Sankey should tell all the coaches right now, all right, write down the 3 teams that you want to be your permanents when Texas Oklahoma get here. You can write in 1 alternate, and then we'll count them up, and then we'll settle it from there. That's what I want them to do. Or for SEC Media Day, everybody bring in a blank sheet of paper. You're going to put in this hat. South Carolina, what 3 teams do you want? Shane Beamer, write them down. Okay. Kirby, who do you want? And that's how we play it. We just let them pick.
Well, and the other side to this is, how much do baseball and basketball even play into this? Now, you don't have divisions in basketball anymore. You don't have divisions, but you do in the baseball. Do you keep the baseball divisions? Do you keep those and move forward now with that? I mean, what are some of the things you do with your other sports? As football is going to be the big topic. Football is going to be the thing that we're all talking about and debating about. But what exactly are you going to do with like a 16-team basketball conference? You play 15. You play everybody once for 15, and then what you have? I mean, right now they play. Is it 4 teams you play twice? Am I doing the math on that correct? I'm trying to help me with that. Can you do that real quick? Is it 3 permanents or 4? What I would say is permanents, where you play 3 or 4 teams twice, home and away, and then everybody else you play once. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with basketball as well.
If the NFL is going to make a whole week surrounding the schedule release for one season, when you already know all of the opponents that you're going to play and they can get people interested, the SEC Network needs to do a whole live primetime announcement of who the permanent opponents will be, when the schedule is announced, because that's a bigger deal that will have longer term ramifications than anything involving 1 year of NFL scheduling. When again, you already know who you're playing. That would be sweet if they just like roll it out. Georgia's permanent opponents are Alabama or Auburn.
There's no doubt.
Florida.
There's no doubt in my mind that the SEC network will have some kind of special
Live thing.
dedicated. I mean, you've already got the schedules that come out and how that looks and how they elect to do that. But there's no doubt.
You could do a 3-hour show easily, just rolling out each team's permanent opponents and talking about like, okay, well, we just lost this rivalry. What's that going to mean? And things like that. Like that would be a blast to watch.
We will see. Again, there's a lot. We'll get into more of that this hour because the scheduling is not the only thing that is really on the table right now and is important. I talked a little bit about last week, and I'll throw you the hypothetical, Patrick, of Greg Sankey looking around now when he says, hey, we might just take our ball and go home and create our own playoff. I don't think he's looking to playoff with just 16 SEC teams.
Right.
I think he's looking at the ACC and maybe the Big 12 going, I don't need you. I just need a few of your teams. And if ESPN Disney will step in and help front some money on this, we'll just buy your teams and get rid of that grant of rights contract that you've got. We'll take care of creating our own super conference. I brought this up last week, and I'll throw that out there to you as well. So we'll get into that this hour. If you want to weigh in, anything you've heard this morning, 803-404-6100. Scott says, dog fan here. Rather have Tennessee, but South Carolina makes more sense. And Brad says, football scheduling is easy. No divisions, no pods. 3 permanent, rotate the rest. Here's one way to do it. And then he gives us a complete breakdown. Yeah, Patrick's already given his out. Scott's has, he said permanent 3, and then he gives us
4. Yeah. Crunch the numbers again.
Come back with us. So, come back with that. But, yeah, I think, honestly, the 3, you do the math on that, the 9 conference games, which Nick Saban has been pushing for, the 3 permanents, 6 rotating, would give you play in 12 teams in a 2-year period, plus the 3 permanents or your 15. You'd play all 15 other conference teams over 2 years. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Getting into the month of June, well, that means making sure you're feeling good and enjoying life the way you should be. And with QC Kinetics, that's exactly what you're going to get. You can get a free consultation now. If you've been having joint pain, you can't live the way you want to. So call QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. That's right. You can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. Again, QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in advanced regenerative treatments from local medical professionals. These are taking growth factors with healing properties from your own body and putting them back in to help your joints repair themselves. You can do it with no downtime, no surgery, and most importantly, no drugs or steroids. So call QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Call QC Kinetics today and get back to living the life you want to live. I don't know if I cut this QC Kinetics spot that I was told to have in 2 weeks ago. fix his scheduling format. Did I read that? I mean, as soon as I read it, permanent 3, rotate the rest. And then he gives 4? What did RL do to us?
Yeah, who'd you report? Is that why our stream is down?
Is the stream down?
No, it's not.
What just happened here? $8:20 on a Tuesday morning as we come off of a nice 3-day weekend. Where for Jen Jensen, it was a 4-day weekend. For Patrick, it was a 11-day weekend.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, they're both having a hard time getting back into the groove. Me, however, I've been here working hard, except for the 3 days I just took off to enjoy time with the family and play on the lake. This weekend, this coming week, South Carolina, along with the other 13 schools in the SEC, will send athletic directors down, some coaches down. It is kind of entertaining. You said you wished Greg Sankey would tell Shane Beamer, hey, pick what 3 you want. Do you think Greg Sankey's already got an assistant or somebody that's gone in with a piece of like tape and written on it and put on the chairs? Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, and they're right next to each other.
Directly next to each other. Yeah.
They're right next to each other. There's like a bowl of M&Ms in between them that they have to share.
Or Greg Sankey's in the middle and they're on either side of him so we can slap him in the back of the head if they get out of line.
Yeah, just like that. Just slap them just like fantasy football. And it is interesting. Those two have got to be there. The SEC meetings generally do create some form of news, something the SEC does. This weekend will be more. This week, I gotta stop saying this weekend, but this week will be more entertaining than usual because Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. Good news for Nick Saban. Doesn't have to phone call Jimbo Fisher anymore. He can just confront him out in the lobby or at the poolside bar. That would be pretty entertaining in and of itself. But Saban and Fisher can speak, and I would imagine usually reporters are down there and they try and catch coaches or administrators coming out of these meetings, Patrick. That's going to be one of the topics. Saban, Fisher, NIL, recruiting, buying players. Another will be the scheduling we just talked about. 9 games potentially, 3 permanents, 6 rotating. The third one that I brought up last week on this program is the concept that Greg Sankey has thrown out there as it pertains to the college football playoff. And this is my own conspiracy theory. This hasn't been reported anywhere, and it's just something that if you look at the way the SEC is now going about college football, and you do read what is being said out there by anonymous sources that Greg Sankey is not happy with the rest of the commissioners basically shooting down his preferred playoff plan, it makes me wonder if Greg Sankey's not working behind the scenes to go ahead and negotiate. Hey, Clemson, Florida State, I know you got that grant of rights till 2035, 2036. Kansas State, Oklahoma State. You know the Big 12 stinks. Why do you want to continue to be a part of that? Oregon, Southern Cal, you guys you're not really going to get anything out of the Pac-12. The Big 10, Patrick, is going to make money. The Big 10 financially has power in this game where they can kind of work with the SEC.
Well, but they did. The new commissioner thought that he was going to be the guy that cancels the season.
Right.
And said we're gonna lead from the front, and it did not work at all. It completely fell in its face. So they do have power, but they have money. But I don't know that they have like the power or influence.
Well, and that's why I wonder, Kevin Warren. The other you got to remember is it's ESPN Disney who's going to pay that big money TV deal to the Big Ten. So ESPN Disney has a stake in the game on this, and that look there's your third entity in this thing is ESPN Disney getting involved in the television packaging for any kind of extra playoff or wanting big games. You talk about again.
How much more money do they have if they got into a bidding war with Fox?
I don't know what Fox's money's tied up in Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady right now is.
If they can spend that much money on a guy that's never called a game before, they've got a lot of money.
They do. Did you see? By the way, real quick, just to go back. But this is Fox's concept of college football, which I get. They don't necessarily want to take their biggest games and put them on television and compete against the biggest games that the SEC may be putting on. But Alabama, Texas, we would agree, is a big time game, right?
Yeah.
Did you see what time the kickoff will be in Austin, Texas? September, I think it's 10th this year, I believe is when that game is played. Do you know what time kickoff will be?
Noon?
Austin, yes. 11 a.m. Austin time.
Big noon kickoff.
Big noon kickoff.
I like it.
And that's what Fox does. And I understand the television idea behind it. Like, hey, but I don't know. I still kind of surprised you wouldn't want that to go up against any other primetime game that's going on out there. I was trying to look real quick and just see what potentially the other primetime games would be that weekend. I talked a little bit last week about the fact that the opening weekend is not exactly your best weekend of games. Your second weekend, when you have Alabama and Texas, Patrick, your 7 p.m. games as of now are Central Arkansas and Ole Miss, Kent State, Oklahoma, Syracuse, UConn, which everybody knows will be a television bonanza, Western Carolina, Georgia Tech, UMass, Toledo, Alcorn State, Tulane. You kind of get the point on where I'm going with this. Arizona State at Oklahoma State and Southern Cal, Stanford are really your biggest games there that they would match up with in that particular time slot. Hawaii, Michigan, also a thriller that will get a lot of eyeballs. I mean, you don't have why you would not look at that and say, okay, we're going to put Alabama, Texas up against Southern Cal, Stanford, but that's what Fox does, and why I don't think the SEC would really toy with that notion. They're very happy with ESPN Disney to be able to stick with and get their money from them.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, the Big Ten is the interesting one, and how that would come together. I guess Disney's the biggest media company in the world, right? I'm assuming.
I'm assuming yes.
But
yeah.
Fox is right up there with them. But I don't. So,
but also you got to remember with this, the SEC has got their. I think the Big Ten networks television rights are different in terms of it. It's an independent deal and not like the SEC network, which is tied in with ESPN.
The Big Ten network is different?
I think it's an independent network that's like if I go to watch the SEC network, I know I'm watching it. I know that I'm still getting ESPN broadcasting. Like I'm getting everything is ESPN related, right? You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, maybe I think you're right because it is on the Fox Sports app. If you want to go watch
the Big Ten
game.
is
okay. The Big Ten network is on the Fox app, but you have to buy BTN Plus.
Gotcha.
If you want to watch most of the lacrosse season or smaller sports like that, you have to buy BTN Plus, which is not the same as just buying an SEC Network Plus package. You have to buy ESPN Plus and then be subscribed to the SEC Network to get SEC Network Plus. So I do think you're right in terms of the independence, and maybe the Big Ten Network can go. They're just under contract or have an agreement with Fox to air their stuff on the Fox app and things like that.
But to finish this, and we'll get a lot more information as this week goes along, and I expect to get some stuff coming out. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about the plans for Texas, Oklahoma, and getting them into the SEC earlier than 2025. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about the concepts and the ideas that the SEC has for the playoff. I'll say it again. I just don't know after the SEC playoff that Greg Sankey has kind of thrown out there to maybe scare the other conferences and say, look, you're going to do it our way or else we're going to take our ball and go home. I don't like the plan. It's maybe neat for a year, maybe two max, and then it becomes worthless. And let's be honest, it's great. The SEC's won a lot of national championships. You still would rather see a great SEC team go up against an ACC or a Big Ten, or if Southern Cal or Oklahoma do turn into a powerhouse, or excuse me, Southern Cal or Oregon, you'd like to see that.
Of course. Yeah, you want to see them play Ohio State. I
Right.
like seeing Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. I like seeing that game. It would be terrible if we did not get that opportunity. That's
So
what the whole season's about.
we will continue to watch the what takes place down in Destin, Florida this week, and what news comes out from there. We'll get into that and talk a little more college football. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Graduation season officially upon us. I know people are having graduation parties for that great graduate, and having a party means either having a clean house or cleaning up after the party leaves. Either way, Zero Res is ready to help you. You can end the school year with the approaching warmer months. You want that house to be clean, and Zero Res can do that with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to clean better than detergents. So call today, 803-262-4020, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. So you can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can schedule with ease, ZeroResColumbia.com on the internet. Again, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you get a hallway cleaned for free. So you've got that big graduation party coming up, or you had it this past weekend and you need the house cleaned. Call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020, or again, book with ease online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean. 803-404-6100 if you want to be a part of the program this morning. Talking a lot. We've talked South Carolina baseball. Certainly the news coming out from Kendall Rogers that Mark Kingston expected back in 2023, and that is certainly the way it looks. No official announcement yet from South Carolina. Again, I don't know if they'll actually need to make an official announcement for this or not. Doesn't really matter one way or the other. I know Mark Kingston will probably be on at some point with Ray Tan, with Jay Phillips. Ray Tanner will probably be on too, and they'll address it at that point. And the plan also to move forward and make the program back to being a contender for postseason play. So we talked about that. Also talked a little bit about SEC meetings down in Destin, Florida. That is this week. So I'm guessing Ray Tanner, somebody will catch him down there. And at that point, I guess they will ask him about the status of Mark Kingston. Usually you have reporters down there looking for a little bit of information as stuff will trickle out from the SEC and as it pertains to scheduling and things like that. So you get those administrators down there, Patrick. If South Carolina has a beat writer down there, someone from the state or one of the websites, you can imagine Ray Tanner will have a comment or quote there about Mark Kingston and about the future of the baseball program. So we've talked about that as well. And then over the weekend, big weekend, Celtics eliminate the Heat from the playoffs. They will play the Warriors in the NBA championship. The Rangers last night eliminating the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Divisional Finals. They will move on to the conference championships to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And yesterday, Maryland lacrosse, as John from Orangeburg weighs in. John says, Maryland, he says, Patrick, wow, Maryland lacrosse goes undefeated all year. Crazy good. Yo. Again, I was watching just a little bit. There was a couple players from Atlanta. We've kind of brought this up. Your buddy and South Carolina lacrosse just winning a club championship. You are of the opinion South Carolina could be pretty good in lacrosse pretty quickly if they were willing to make it a varsity sport and offer the scholarships.
Yeah, because there's kids from all over the place now. The Southeast is growing really quickly. The West Coast is growing really, really quickly. Maryland has kids from California, Utah, and Oregon that are all in their starting lineups. Still, mostly the sport's comprised of Northeastern kids, but like Atlanta's a hotbed at this point. There's so much talent in Atlanta. There's a lot of people that just want to play in the South because the season starts in February. It's really, really cold. You're playing on fields that have snow shoveled up against the crowd, the railings of the stands. Like it's pretty brutal playing in the Northeast, and not all of the schools have indoor facilities. I know like Notre Dame plays their first couple games indoors, and there's some other indoor teams, but overall you're sucking it up and playing in miserable cold. I know a lot of people would want to get out of that, and a lot of kids from the South would want to stay in the South. So yeah, I do believe if they put the resources behind it, South Carolina would be a factor right away.
And then Maryland lacrosse, give them the what we put into context, whatever it is that they just did, going undefeated. And by the way, as I learned, it was a revenge tour for Maryland lacrosse because apparently they lost a very close championship game a year ago in which it was very heartbreaking.
Yeah, they lost basically at the buzzer. Their face-off guy had a shot as time was expiring and hit the goalie in the chest, the Virginia goalie in the chest. So Virginia won the championship last year, but this Maryland team was absurd. They had 11 All-Americans, 6 draft picks. They were 18-0, the first undefeated team in 16 years, since 2006, Virginia. So they're going to go down in history as one of the best teams of all time. There were absolutely no weak spots. Their goalie was their MVP for the championship weekend. He was incredible. Their defense was incredible. They had 2 All-Americans on defense. The short stick defensive midi position is one that not many people are aware of, but
of course, the short stick midi position.
That's like the position that gets targeted the most on defense, and Maryland had 3 guys that got drafted from that one spot. So there were a couple units where they just had like all-time units, and they're just a fun team to watch. They're completely team oriented offense. The ball just whips around, like flies around. There's no selfishness on that team at all. So it's just fun to watch. I've always loved watching Maryland lacrosse, and John Tillman, their coach, is the best in the business, and that's what Maryland lacrosse always is. They're just always a smart, composed, and team oriented offense, and it's just fun to watch.
So that all took place. Jen was up at the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600, Jen, taking place. And my guy, but I didn't take him this time, my guy, or Patrick's guy, because Patrick's got a shirt, you know who won the Coca-Cola 600, correct?
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin takes it home. Jen, and
the longest NASCAR races.
a race,
Race.
a rec field race. I know a bunch.
Wow. Yep. And I've been reading a little bit about the tires. A lot of people said, "Oh, the tires aren't wearing worth a darn," and Goodyear's kind of fighting back and saying, "You know what? We designate a certain PSI that those tires are supposed to be inflated to. People are pushing the limits." So I don't know, but there are definitely tire issues with this new car. So I don't know. I did not get to see all of it. I want to go back and watch some of it, but I was like, it just kept going and going and going, and I was exhausted from the 500. And we needed to get up in the early in the morning yesterday and start driving straight through back. So I do want to catch more of it again. But some of what I saw, there was some really good racing, no question.
The reason you did not see all of it, are you too aware of how long this race took?
No.
I didn't see the exact time, but is it literally the longest NASCAR race in history?
It was the longest, at least Coca-Cola. It said what I was reading is the longest Coca-Cola 600 in history. I don't know if it was the longest NASCAR race. I don't know what that is,
I
but
think because that's the longest race on the schedule to begin with.
race lasted more than 5 hours and took 619 miles to complete. Yeah. It's
Wow.
including 12 drivers. I believe I had Chase Elliott. I was trying to
You
look.
did.
Okay, yeah, and he got
Yep.
eliminated. I don't think any of us did particularly well this weekend. Am I
Because he
correct in
and
that?
Byron both kinda got knocked out at one
Yeah,
point, and, I did not see where Truex finished yet, but Reggie had Kyle Busch, and I think he was
of course
contending
he
for the
did.
win.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, it makes about sense. Makes plenty of sense. We'll catch up with our buddy Kerry Tharp coming up on Thursday morning to recap that. But yeah, 5 hours,
5 hours in a
619 miles.
car,
I'm trying to think.
hot car,
619 miles, Patrick. Is that what's the mileage to Nashville that you drove yesterday? Do you know off the top of your head?
400,
400.
something like
So
that.
they
Yeah.
drove a little bit further than heading to Nashville and back.
They did a lot
Yeah,
faster than I did.
they also did that. Very
Yeah.
good point. It only took them 5 hours,
Yeah.
so took you about 9. So 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll
Not
wrap
9,
up
it took
the
6.
Tuesday morning. Huh?
6 to 7.
Took 6 to 7.
Yeah, it's not a 9-hour drive to Nashville.
Oh boy, okay. Well, you weren't far behind him on the.
But I lost an hour coming back.
Good point. Okay.
Now see, when I'm going from Indianapolis to Lexington, that's about 100 or about 600 miles.
Is it? So they
So
drove. So basically, in one night, they drove from Lexington to Indianapolis. Is about what we estimate.
exactly. So they drove what I drove, but again, yeah, I didn't quite get the same speeds as they did. So it took us a little longer than 5 hours.
Also, I don't think they took bathroom breaks along the way.
No, they do not.
Yeah, don't
No,
do that.
don't
No.
I'm gonna
stop and
stop
get
for
a
us.
Diet Coke that wasn't any good, you
No,
know?
there you go. Yep, it's the early game. 107.5 the game. Speaking of driving, you might have some summer vacations planned, and speed is not really the direction you want to go when picking a car. You need to go with something that's comfortable, something that can get you to where you're going with maybe some new technology that makes it easier for the kids in the back seat to be able to enjoy a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour ride. And at Love Chevrolet, that's exactly what you're going to find is great vehicles at a great price. Love Chevrolet's been serving the Midlands for over 60 years, and the reason they do it is customer service. That's why they continue to stay in business. Of course, they've got the $1,000 low price guarantee where you can go shop other dealerships, take their deal back to the folks that love Chevrolet, and they'll top it or write you a check for $1,000. And of course, they've got 14 acres of brand new Chevys from which to choose from. But again, it's the customer service and the way they treat you, the way they make you feel comfortable, the way they explain how a new car, truck, or SUV can help you in your daily commute and in your summer vacations that stands out above the rest. Many salespeople over there have been in with Love Chevrolet for over 20 years, and it's because they believe in the company itself and they want to work with you, the great customers of the Midlands. So go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or you can visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. 8:48 as we wrap up the Tuesday morning edition of the early game. Pearson Fowler up next. Jay, Terry, and Tommy coming up from noon to 3, and Heath Klein will wrap up everything from 3 to 6 this afternoon. So we've talked a lot this morning. Obviously, Mark Kingston talked a lot about South Carolina football, Patrick's vacation to Texas, Jen's to Indianapolis. And Patrick, the big question was, by the way, you just don't look at Twitter when you're on vacation, do you?
No, I did see. I had a bunch of notifications one morning. Did you just get a thing about me? A segment about me getting eloping or something?
Yeah. Well,
it started with the fact that we noticed you had not tweeted anything since your trip to.
I also just stopped taking pictures. I have pictures. My camera roll ends in Austin because I was like, I'm not doing this every day. So I let my girlfriend take all the pictures and do all of the research of everything. All I did was navigate us from one city to the other.
Okay, yeah. So we noticed at some point you just completely fell off the map.
Yeah.
And then we thought, well, who knows? I mean,
we thought, well, it's possible, maybe getting away. That might be a chance to, just to spring a wedding on or something. So we sort of played with that concept a little bit and said, wish him well, so that maybe that'd spark you to, comment.
We might
say,
get a
"Hey, we're healthy."
response, and then by Friday, I was like,
He's
maybe
really
something
off the
did
grid.
happen, and he's
he's actually gone.
He's just
Well, also every morning I woke up. We're an hour back,
right?
So if I woke up at 7:30, it was 8:30 here. Or if I woke up at 7:45, I was like, all right, well, the show's over. So
yeah,
I guess that pretty much ends any opportunity of calling in today. I was like, no, just not.
Totally understand. Yeah, no, we were. I was slightly surprised. Then I did start to wonder until he put out his tweet last night. Actually, I think it was the tweet Sunday night when he put out the nail polish. I was like, I think that means he's coming back. And then it went until last night when he was like, all right, I'm back. I was like, okay, good. It makes the show a little bit easier tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even close to back yet. I was like almost an hour outside of Knoxville. Still, and I just stopped. I put that tweet out from a Love's rest stop in Tennessee because I was like, well, I'm not getting home till midnight. I should probably make an appearance and wrap up the trip. So I just hopped on my phone and got the pictures from the trip from my girlfriend and said, all right, well, these are the ones that I'm gonna post from the trip, and
it'll be all good.
Vacation is officially over. But I didn't hit the road till after the Maryland game. It was at noon Central Time, 1 Eastern Time, so I knew that there was gonna be no way, unless I got on the road at like 5 a.m. or something, that I was gonna be able to catch the game if I left. So I just waited till after. I got home late, and sleeping 4 hours on the heels of vacation, not ideal. Not ideal.
No,
it's all right.
Vacation is better than work.
Well, you get this weekend to try and start to recover and head back.
Apparently, Dad's not amused by our little pranking.
Oh well,
I guess this is.
We wondered if then what we wondered was if he knew, like if family members were if family members like calling like, wait, what happened? So we were having a good time, but that's what happens when you start to hit the summertime months. Coming up tomorrow, Tony Andon will join us again in studio. He will start becoming a regular on Wednesday mornings around 7 a.m. This news just coming out, Patrick, actually. And one of my things this summer, we are going to, I think we're going to Atlanta. I have no clue for SEC Media Day. But as I want to get to either an Atlanta United game or a Charlotte FC game, Charlotte FC has just announced in the last few minutes here, in about the last 15 minutes, that their coach, Miguel Angel Ramirez, will not continue on. He is 5-8-1 so far in 14 league games this year. The club's next game is against the New York Red Bulls on June 11th at 3 p.m. But as Heath put out, you got David Tepper, who's running that organization. And I bring this up because we have talked about the problems that the Carolina Panthers are currently going through and what's going to happen with Matt Rule. David Tepper's running the Charlotte FC club as well. And I think at some point you start to question his management of
people,
sporting programs.
Well, yeah, and people are like, "What? Matt Rule still has a job, but the expansion team,
he was hired. He was hired July 7th of last year, meaning he has not been on.
Not even got a year.
Didn't get a full year.
An expansion team,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. Was he?
That's why we're going to catch up with Tony.
Is there something we're missing? Is he doing something? Did he pee on David Tepper's desk or something? Like I don't know. That's weird. That is weird. No one was out there protesting this coach having a job.
No.
There's not rabid Charlotte FC fans beating down the doors of Bank of America Stadium saying, get this man out. We need a real coach. We need a real football coach here.
It is news again because we'll start talking with Tony Ann a little bit more about soccer and as we count down to the start of his season. But it's also news because, again, I think it's fair to start to question David Tepper and his ownership of, and Tepper's got a quote in here. He says, "This is a difficult decision, but one we feel is best for the team at this time. I want to thank Miguel and his staff for their hard work during our first season and wish them the best in their future endeavors." And again, I'll go back. Yeah, some of you go, it's soccer. I get it. But I think bigger picture here is David Tepper now and running both the Panthers organization and the Charlotte FC organization. And I think you start to go, hey, you might have been a great business guy.
Yeah.
Not so sure with the sports administrative part of it.
Well, he must not like the soccer coach either, because why would you? It's just bizarre. But between being desperate to find a quarterback, so desperate that you sign Teddy Bridgewater, then pay him $20 million to not be the quarterback, desperation trade for Sam Darnold. Now you're paying him $18 million to, I guess, be the quarterback. Maybe we'll see if they trade for Baker Mayfield. But he's so desperate to solve that problem that he's just making irrational moves left and right. I don't know. It's going to be Matt Rule's last year, and when he came in as the richest owner of the NFL, everyone was pumped. Like, this is sweet. He's going to make quick, radical changes that we need. And here we are a couple years later, and it looks like a disaster.
Throw in just real quickly the fact that whatever has happened in Rock Hill, Fort Mill with that training facility, and it doesn't sound like that is on David Tepper, but on the city itself. So I have a hard time. But again, you've got what is starting to look like a multi-million-dollar Dollar General store or the Halloween Spirit store that's out there. What are you going to do with that facility that I think is halfway built, I believe?
It looks pretty built.
I mean,
the pictures do. I don't know what the inside looks like. It's just weird with these owners, these billionaire owners that have either been born rich or just built incredible, successful businesses that are just not used to things not going their way, and just how they react to it.
Steve Ballmer with the Clippers. You think about that? He goes out and he purchases Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and we'll have another NBA championship this coming week without the LA Clippers.
Also, kind of funny that it was all over Twitter that KD and Kyrie left the Warriors and Celtics to come team up together in Brooklyn, and now the Warriors and Celtics are playing in the championship.
Goes to show you.
And they got bounced in the first round.
There you go. We'll continue talking about that. Get into a little bit of Steph Curry discussion as we go through the week and kind of what this means. Is his legacy set? Is Steph Curry's legacy set, or does this series, winning a fourth NBA championship, does it do something? We'll continue talking about that. Get into more SEC meeting stuff throughout the week. And, some of you I know will continue to want to weigh in on Mark Kingston, so we'll hear that throughout the week. Good to have you two back. Although
we know
just me being here Friday was kind of
terrible
a lot of fun
for the fans.
I miss Texas.
We'll be back tomorrow.
It was super fun.
All right, live stream. I'm going to go take a nap before Top Gun.
There you go.
Oh, what a day.
What a day.
That sounds pretty awesome.
See you tomorrow, everybody.